Chapter 410. Right at the moment when Qinyu was still in shock. Die. Aoku's face was filled with malevolence. He increased the strength of the mace in his hands and ruthlessly smashed it toward Qinyu's head. Wherever the mace passed, the space would distort. Bang! Qinyu's arm forcibly blocks this blow. When that wolf-tooth club, which contains an endless amount of demonic elemental energy, smashes down on Qinyu's arm bones, causing some cracks to appear. Qinyu knows in his heart that the situation is bad. His whole body flies backwards. The two of them separated again. Strangely, Aoku did not chase after Qinyu. He merely stood there and looked at Qinyu. His pair of dead fish eyes were staring at Qinyu. With a hoarse voice he said, "Qinyu, I truly did not expect your body to be this tough. According to the information I obtained from Zhongju, you've only ascended to the immortal devil and demon realm several hundred years ago. Who would have thought that? You've already reached this level in several hundred years. Your talent is indeed the best I've ever seen." Qinyu looked at Aoku in front of him as he rapidly pondered in his heart. It was truly difficult to kill Aoku. This Aoku's demon elemental energy was truly too strong. Many of his fist attacks were cancelled out by Aoku's demon elemental energy. Furthermore, Aoku's divine artifact Mace's might must be guarded against. Seems like I can only rely on the divine sword Sky Piercer and the sky-piercing finger. A cold light flashed through Qinyu's eyes. With the might of the sixth layer of the 9 steps force and the acceleration of the black hole, the power of the sky-piercing finger should be able to injure Aoku. Right at the moment when Qinyu was about to attack, bang! Baifeng rapidly smashed into the ground. The ground cracked from the heavy impact. The cracks extended for tens of miles. However, in the blink of an eye, Baifeng once again soared into the sky. "Gaga, eat another attack from your grandpa's mace." Ho Fei's arrogant voice resounded through the heaven and earth. At the same time, countless mace silhouettes covered the heaven and earth and attacked Baifeng from all directions. Baifeng felt an incomparable headache. In truth, she had an ultimate move. Since her true form was that of a phoenix-tailed crane, there was an ultimate move left behind in her inherited memories, the phoenix-tailed needle. It was so powerful that even Aoku had to be extremely careful. However, Baifeng knew of Ho Fei's identity and did not dare to use this ultimate move. Without using her ultimate move, facing Ho Fei's all-encompassing stick shadows, she could only be trampled on like a coward. Pooh! Space seemed to have been pierced, and the black spear instantly appeared in front of Baifeng. "Of Koro? All right, I'll use you to vent my anger." White Phoenix, who had been ravaged by Ho Fei all this while, suddenly turned her gaze to Kuro, who had been staying at the periphery and occasionally launching sudden attacks. A bright red light shot out from Baifeng's body and headed straight for Kuro's abdomen. White Phoenix's ultimate move, Phoenix Tail Needle. Kuro's expression changed greatly, and his body moved down by about 10 centimeters. Chi. That bright red light shot onto Kuro's Kuro fur battle armor. The black scale battle armor was made up of layers of feathers. That red light seemed to be extremely hot, and 3 to 4 layers of feathers on Kuro's black scale battle armor were instantly burned away. Chi. That red light had already penetrated into Kuro's body. Xiaohei. Qinyu, who had noticed this scene, was greatly shocked. Mixed hair bird. Ho Fei was also greatly shocked. He had never imagined that Baifeng, who had been ravaged by him all this while, would have such a powerful attack. Even Kuro's battle armor, which had a defense close to that of a deity artifact, had been penetrated. "You white-haired thing, attack me if you have the ability." Ho Fei seemed to have gone crazy. His entire body emitted a dazzling golden light, and the length of his black stick instantly doubled. Golden Abyss. Baifeng's expression changed. The divine armor, Golden Abyss, was the Great Ape Emperor's treasure. She had never expected that the Great Ape Emperor would actually give it to Qinyu. With Golden Abyss, even if Baifeng were to use her phoenix tail needles to attack Ho Fei, she would not be able to succeed. After all, Ho Fei was a level 6 Demon Emperor super divine beast. His strength was only a level lower than Baifeng's. The black stick was frantically smashing down. Every single strike was extremely ingenious. As for defense, Ho Fei did not care about that at all. He only knew how to attack. The Great Ape Emperor's bloodline's attacks are truly frantic. With the divine armor Golden Abyss for defense, I am still unable to kill Ho Fei. This battle is truly unbearable. Bai Feng felt extremely helpless in her heart. The Black Crow City was extremely vast. However, with Qin Yu and his brother's residence as the center, the area within a 100-mile radius had become a death zone. Earlier, several thousand people had died from the shock waves of the battle, and several tens of thousands of people were seriously injured. As for the others, they had already escaped from the battle. At this moment, several millions of people were watching the battle from afar. One after another, stick silhouettes soared into the sky like long dragons. Sounds of collisions that sounded like planets colliding with each other could be heard unceasingly. Those collisions were the sounds of Qin Yu and Ao Ku colliding head-on. Boom! It was unknown whose attack landed on the ground. Immediately, the entire ground started to tremble as if an earthquake had occurred. Large cracks began to spread across the ground. Densely packed figures were watching and discussing from afar. Lord Yang, who is fighting over there. They actually dared to fight on the Black Crow Star. A robust large man said to a black-clothed old man beside him. This black-clothed old man was a level 2 Demon Emperor expert. On the Black Crow Star, he could be considered to have some status. The black-clothed old man looked at the battle from afar and said, "Who is it? Look at those auras. Can't you feel it? A battle of this level, even if I were to go over, I would likely be killed in a single strike." The surrounding cultivators all cried out in alarm. "Lord Yang, I've heard from my master that this time around, it's 2 of the 3 lords from the Imperial City that are fighting with someone." A youngster sighed and said, "2 of the 3 lords?" The black-clothed old man opened his eyes wide. Even the surrounding people were stunned. The 3 lords under the Peng Demon Emperor, each and every one of them were level 8 Demon Emperors and high-level divine beasts. Their strength was comparable to the level 8 Immortal Emperor Yu from back then. Of course, when compared to the current level 9 Immortal Emperor Yu, these 3 lords were still a bit weaker. "Yo!" A sharp and resounding voice sounded. A long stick silhouette, that seemed to be several tens of miles long, suddenly smashed into the center of the battlefield from the vast sky. At the same time, 2 figures soared into the sky from the center of the battlefield. While these 2 people were flying, they were still colliding with each other unceasingly. The sound of their collisions caused the spectators several hundred miles away to feel a rumbling in their ears. "Qin Yu, your recovery ability is truly frightening," that Ao Ku was unable to refrain himself from saying. In one moment, the distance between the 2 of them was several miles. In the next moment, they were several miles away from each other and fiercely colliding with each other. They were colliding with each other with their bodies. In the immortal devil and demon realm, attacks were mainly divided into 2 types. The first type was using flying swords or magic barriers to attack from afar. The second type was close-range combat. Although a long-range attack might appear to be very grand, it was extremely difficult to kill someone. After all, a flying sword that was controlled by energy, its attack power was inferior to an attack that was held in one's hand. As for close-range combat, if one were to be slightly careless, one might lose one's life. As for Qin Yu, he relied on his valiant body's defense to engage in close-range combat unceasingly. This Ao Ku also relied on his dual-headed dragon vulture's astonishing defense and speed to engage in close-range combat unceasingly. Every time they engaged in close-range combat, the 2 of them were frantically trying to kill each other. Once again, the 2 of them collided with each other from several miles away. At the same time, the 2 of them frantically attacked each other with lightning speed. The spiked club was aimed at Qin Yu's head. This time around, Qin Yu did not use his arm to block it like he did in the past. "This time around you'll definitely die." Qin Yu's gaze was like lightning. Bang! Qin Yu's head only slightly dodged. That spiked club ruthlessly smashed onto Qin Yu's shoulder. The sound of bones shattering could cause one's entire body to tremble. However, Qin Yu merely frowned slightly. The light in his eyes grew colder and colder. Almost at the same time, Qin Yu's left index finger fiercely poked Aoku's abdomen. Lu Xing's finger technique, sky-piercing finger. The extremely pure sixth layer of blue-colored 9 steps force. The black hole started to rotate in the opposite direction. The blue-colored 9 steps force's speed reached a frightening limit. At the moment when Qin Yu's left index finger was attacking, his right hand held the divine sword Sky Piercer and pierced toward Aoku's chest. Aoku's dragon tail seemed to have already discovered it. Immediately, it wrapped around Qin Yu's arm. If he didn't have the strength to increase the speed of his arm, it would be impossible for the divine sword Sky Piercer to pierce through Aoku's defense. A trace of a smile appeared on Aoku's face. However, in an instant his expression changed. Puff! Sky-piercing finger. He originally didn't care about Qin Yu's finger. However, that finger of his actually exploded with an astonishing penetrating power. It continuously pierced through several layers of his dragon scales. The dense Yao elemental energy within his body had already weakened the blue-colored finger power by 80%. However, it was unable to weaken it any further. No yuanying. Qin Yu could clearly feel that his sky-piercing finger power had pierced through Aoku's body. However, it didn't hit Aoku's yuanying. Ah! Aoku's pair of dead fish eyes glowed with a dazzling light. Soon after, the muscles of his entire body started to twist and wriggle. Hiss! The sound of muscles tearing could be heard unceasingly. In Qin Yu's eyes, Aoku's entire body had actually split into 2 halves. Those 2 halves once again wriggled and grew. In an instant they had turned into 2 people. 2 Aokus appeared in front of Qin Yu. They coldly stared at Qin Yu. Doppelganger technique? No. What is going on? What kind of technique is this? The strength of these 2 Aokus is exactly the same. They both have the strength of Aoku when he was at his peak. Qin Yu was shocked. The 2 Aokus glanced at each other. Soon after, they both looked at Qin Yu. The Aoku on the right smiled and said, "Qin Yu, don't look anymore. Let me tell you, these 2 are my original bodies. Among the 3 lords under His Majesty, I am ranked number 1. Even Bai Feng has an ultimate technique like the phoenix tail needle. Do you think that I only have that little bit of ability?" The 2 Aokus looked at Qin Yu. However, they didn't attack. These 2 original bodies? Qin Yu spoke. These 2 Aokus were very patient. The one on the left sneered and said, "My original body is a variant high-level divine beast, 2-headed dragon vulture. One splitting into 2 is an innate divine ability from my inherited memories. Just now, you were able to fight evenly with one of my original bodies. Your strength is not bad. However, if the 2 of us were to attack together, you would not be a match for us." Hearing what Aoku said, Qin Yu did not say anything. Suddenly, Qin Yu narrowed his eyes. "Fei, Xiaohei, stop fighting. Quickly come over here." Qin Yu secretly said to them via voice transmission. At this moment, Hou Fei and Kuro, who were fighting against Bai Feng, heard Qin Yu's voice transmission. They completely trusted Qin Yu. They immediately abandoned Bai Feng and flew toward Qin Yu. With an intention, Qin Yu took Hou Fei and Kuro into the Jianglan's realm. "Fei, Xiaohei, you 2 return to the Jianglan's realm first. I will return immediately." Qin Yu's voice transmission sounded in Hou Fei and Kuro's minds. Whoosh! Bai Feng's figure instantly arrived beside the 2 Aokus. Puzzled, she said, "Aoku, Kuro and Hou Fei have both disappeared." The 2 Aokus both frowned. They then coldly looked to Qin Yu. Like vipers, their 2 pairs of eyes were staring at Qin Yu. "Aoku, I already know of the trick that you're thinking of. There's no need for you to pretend anymore." Qin Yu had a slight smile on his face. "Trick? What trick?" Aoku was still pretending. Qin Yu lightly smiled and said, "From the very beginning, when the 2 of you appeared, I had already suspected that you wanted to kill or capture us. Why didn't the Prung Demon Emperor and the other level 8 Demon Emperor appear? To take care of the 2 of you, the 2 of us are enough." Bai Feng spoke. Qin Yu shook his head. "Aoku, Bai Feng, at the beginning, it could be said that the 2 of you were arrogant and thought that the 2 of you were enough to take care of us. However, after fighting against us for so long, the 2 of you ought to know that the 2 of you are unable to kill us. If the Peng Demon Emperor and the other lord were on the Black Crow Star, then they would definitely appear. However, we've fought against each other for so long, yet the Peng Demon Emperor still hasn't appeared. Thus, I determined that the Peng Demon Emperor is not on the Black Crow Star at all. Qin Yu said confidently. As for the two of you, when fighting against us, for example, Bai Feng did not use her full strength at the beginning. It was only later on, when she was ravaged miserably, that she used her phoenix tail needle. As for Ao Ku, after fighting against me for so long, if it wasn't for the fact that he sensed my sky-piercing finger and divine artifact, then he would have been able to kill him. He would never use his full strength and split into two true bodies. Qin Yu stared at the two of them. What does all of this mean? It means that the two of you are stalling for time. I reckon that the Peng Demon Emperor ought to be on his way back. He might even arrive on the Black Crow Star soon. At this moment, Qin Yu's immortal awareness had covered the entire Black Crow Star. With Qin Yu's current third-layer Heavenly Soul Realm, and the assistance of Lu Xing's tear, even a level 9 Demon Emperor would not be able to escape from Qin Yu's detection. Ao Ku and Bai Feng fused into one. They then looked to Qin Yu. Qin Yu, you're very smart. What you said is correct. From the moment I fought against you, I knew that even if I were to split into two and attack with my two true bodies, I would still only be able to defeat you at the very most. However, if you were to escape, I would not be able to catch you at all. Thus, I decided to stall for time. You're still stalling for time. The Peng Demon Emperor has already arrived. Qin Yu smiled brilliantly. He turned into a ray of light and rapidly shot toward the crowd of people from the Black Crow City. Ao Ku and Bai Feng were startled. Right when they were about to chase after him, their demon awareness discovered that Qin Yu's aura had completely disappeared. This Qin Yu is truly cunning. He said earlier that His Majesty had arrived. What's going on? Has His Majesty really arrived? Bai Feng asked in confusion. Ao Ku also had a trace of confusion on his face. However, in a blink of an eye, the two of them had a bitter smile on their faces. That was because the Peng Demon Emperor's voice transmission sounded in their minds. Where's Kuro and his two brothers? Chapter 411. After a battle between two Emperor-level experts, the battlefield, with a circumference of close to 100 miles, had completely turned into ruins. There were two people standing in the air above the battlefield. In merely a short moment, two more people appeared beside them. Phoenix-tailed crane Bai Feng, blue flame eagle Lu Tu, and double-headed dragon vulture Ao Ku. These three were the three great experts under the Peng Demon Emperor. Their status was second only to the Peng Demon Emperor. And now, the Emperor of the Bird Clan, and these three great experts were all gathered in the sky above the Black Crow City. Your Majesty, Ao Ku and Bai Feng bowed respectfully. The two of them no longer possessed their former arrogance. Instead, they only had respectful expressions on their faces. There were even traces of worry and fear. Beside the Peng Demon Emperor was the Blue Flame Eagle Demon Emperor Lu. Tuesday Demon Emperor Lu Tu was wearing a cyan battle armor. His eyes were occasionally flickering with an insolent battle intent. Merely beside the Peng Demon Emperor, his aura was completely restrained. Standing in the middle was the Emperor of the Bird Clan, the Peng Demon Emperor. The Peng Demon Emperor Zhong Yan was a golden-winged great Peng bird. His strength was that of a level 8 Demon Emperor. However, the Peng Demon Emperor, who possessed an inherited treasure, was able to easily defeat the three great experts under him. The Peng Demon Emperor was completely golden from head to toe. He wore a golden gown, golden battle boots, and a golden crown. His pair of cold eyes did not contain the slightest trace of emotion. He glanced at Bai Feng and Ao Ku in front of him. Your Majesty, Ao Ku and I did not expect that Kuro and his brothers were actually that powerful. We had been stalling for time the entire time. However, that Qin Yu actually managed to discover our intentions at the very end. Thus, the three of them managed to escape. Your Majesty, this time around, Ao Ku and I have failed in our task. Your Majesty, please punish us, said Bai Feng respectfully. Your Majesty, please punish us, Ao Ku also said. Ao Ku and Bai Feng both knew very well that the Peng Demon Emperor hated it when others shirked their responsibility. If you were to admit your mistake, then it would be fine. However, if you were to shirk your responsibility, then even if you were not wrong, the Pung Demon Emperor would still kill you. Oh, those three brothers are that powerful? Even the two of you are unable to do anything to them? The Pung Demon Emperor spoke for the first time. His voice was a bit sharp. His voice gave off the feeling of being able to pierce through one's soul. No one dared to be disrespectful to the Pung Demon Emperor's emperor. Your Majesty, Bai Feng said respectfully. Qin Yu and the other two are indeed very strong. I fought against Hou Fei and Kuro alone, and I managed to fight them to a draw. As for Qin Yu, he fought with Aoku, and even forced Aoku to split into two true bodies. Aoku added, Your Majesty, Hou Fei is a level 6 Demon Emperor. Kuro is a level 5 Demon Emperor. As for Qin Yu, this subordinate is unable to see through him. Merely in terms of soul realm, he is not much weaker than this subordinate. His body is extremely tough. Even I had to use all of my strength to injure him with my divine artifact. The Pung Demon Emperor's eyelids were raised. Like two substantial golden rays of light, they shot toward Aoku. Qin Yu is really that powerful? His body is as tough as a low-grade divine artifact. That's right. Furthermore, this Qin Yu's recovery ability is extremely astonishing. His bones that were just broken by this subordinate were instantly restored. Aoku added. He also possesses a divine sword as well as a sharp finger technique. If this subordinate were to not use two true bodies, then it was even possible for me to be defeated. The Pung Demon Emperor nodded. His clear and cold gaze swept across the two of them. The Pung Demon Emperor said indifferently, I got it. Let's return to the Imperial Palace now. Yes, Your Majesty. Bai Feng, Aoku and Lu Tu all bowed and accepted the order. Soon after, the four of them all turned into rays of light and shot toward the direction of the Imperial City. Inside the Jianglan's realm, Qin Yu, Hou Fei, Kuro and Bai Ling were gathered together. Big brother Yu, what do we do now? Big sister has been captured by the subordinates of the Pung Demon Emperor. How are we to save her? Bai Ling was so worried that she was about to cry. Kuro could only hold on to Bai Ling's hand and comforted her. Ling, don't worry. Big brother, and I will definitely think of a way. Kuro was also extremely worried. When he had just ascended to the immortal devil and demon realm, Bai Ling's big sister Bai Xian was extremely concerned about him. Kuro. Hou Fei smacked his lips and said, Now that we've alerted the enemy, Zhongju's path is most likely impossible. It's extremely difficult to save that Bai Xian. Then what do we do? Bai Ling asked anxiously. Qin Yu and Kuro were both frowning. The two of them were both pondering. However, to save Bai Xian, the current situation was much more difficult than when the three brothers had just arrived on the Black Crow Star. It was so much so that even the Pung Demon Emperor and them might have returned. Oh, that's right, big brother. Why did you suddenly have us enter the Jianglan's realm earlier? Hou Fei suddenly recalled what had happened earlier and asked. Kuro also looked to Qin Yu. Qin Yu smiled and said, Earlier, that Aoku and Bai Feng had been stalling for time with us the entire time. I had deduced that the Pung Demon Emperor was temporarily not on the Black Crow Star. However, Aoku and them were stalling for time. They were definitely waiting for the Pung Demon Emperor to return and capture us. Thus, I had you all enter the Jianglan's realm first. Stalling for time? Hou Fei and Kuro were startled. Immediately after, they began to think about the battle earlier and had a slight idea of what had happened. Furthermore, ever since I started to suspect, my immortal awareness had covered the entire Black Crow Star. At the final moment, my immortal awareness discovered that two level 8 demon emperors had suddenly appeared in the interstellar conveying array of the Black Crow Star. I'm afraid those two people were the Pung Demon Emperor and the other one of the three lords. Qin Yu said with certainty. Level 8 demon emperors were extremely rare to begin with. Two of them had appeared all of a sudden. Furthermore, Qin Yu was able to sense the aura of the Pung Demon Emperor that was similar to Zhongju's. It was the aura that the golden-winged great Pung bird possessed. The Pung Demon Emperor had truly returned? Hou Fei was greatly shocked. Qin Yu nodded. Kuro also started to frown. If the Pung Demon Emperor were to return, then the matter would become complicated. He possessed an inherited treasure, and possessed strength close to the Dragon Emperor and the Great Ape Emperor. With the strength of the three of us, if we were to encounter him, we would not even have the power to contend against him. Not only that, Hofei said helplessly. According to what I've learned from the Great Ape Emperor, the Dragon Emperor's inherited treasure was able to increase the Dragon Emperor's defense and attack by a lot. As for this Pung Demon Emperor's inherited treasure, it was actually that crown on his head. That crown was able to increase the Pung Demon Emperor's speed by 3 times and increase his attack power by a lot. 3 times. Qin Yu and Kuro were shocked. Hofei nodded and said, "That's right. The Pung Demon Emperor had originally been unhindered by his speed. With this inherited treasure, no one in the entire immortal, devil and demon realm would be able to match his speed. If we were to face the Pung Demon Emperor, I reckon that we would be defeated without even being able to see his shadow. The Pung Demon Emperor who relied on his speed to win, even if he didn't increase his speed, there would still not be many people in the immortal, devil and demon realm that could match him. If he were to increase his speed by 3 times, then only the Pung Demon Emperor would be able to attack others. Others would not be able to attack him. Furthermore, speed is also one's attack power. When one's speed reaches the limit, then the attack power produced would also be extremely strong. According to the Great Ape Emperor, although the Dragon Emperor's defense and attack power were strong, his speed was not that great. This Pung Demon Emperor's speed was very fast, and his attack power could also be considered as strong. However, his defense was not that great. Hofei spoke frankly with assurance. Having followed the Great Ape Emperor Sun Yuan for a long time, Hofei also knew a lot of things. His defense is not that great. He ought to have a divine armor, right? Qin Yu said. Hofei nodded and said, "That's right, he does have a divine armor, a low-quality divine armor." However, Qin Yu had never heard of anyone who possessed a mid-quality divine armor. After all, divine armors were too precious. Low-quality divine armor, when worn by a level 8 Demon Emperor Super Divine Beast, it would be used to attack others, who would be able to break through it. Kuro said. Qin Yu also nodded. A level 8 Demon Emperor Super Divine Beast, wearing a low-quality divine armor. In the eyes of the Great Ape Emperor, his defense was still weak? Even if Qin Yu and his brothers were to attack, they would likely still not be able to break through it. How would I know? In any case, that's what the Great Ape Emperor said. He said that the Pung Demon Emperor's defense was his weak point, and the Dragon Emperor's speed was his weak point. Hofei said honestly, "Then what about the Great Ape Emperor's weak point?" Qin Yu asked. Hofei smiled and said, "According to the Great Ape Emperor himself, he does not have any weak points. With the Great Ape Emperor's stick technique, once he unleashes it, even the Pung Demon Emperor would find it hard to break through the Great Ape Emperor's defense. As for attack power, if he were to unleash the heaven-startling 3-stick strikes, even the Pung Demon Emperor would not dare to take it head-on. Speed. The comprehension of the Great Ape Emperor's stick technique was already very strong. Although his body might not be able to keep up, his stick's speed was able to keep up with his opponent. Hofei smiled again. Although he doesn't have any weak points, from the way I see it, the Great Ape Emperor is a bit weak in all aspects. His defense is inferior to the Dragon Emperor's. His speed is inferior to the Pung Demon Emperor's. Only his attack power is strong enough." Qin Yu shook his head and smiled. "Let's not talk about these 3 anymore. With their strength, any one of them could easily defeat us. Their so-called weak points are actually stronger than our strong points." Hearing that, Hofei and Kuro also smiled helplessly. This was indeed the case. "Big brother." Bai Ling looked to Qin Yu. "My big sister, how should we save her?" "Linger." Kuro frowned and reprimanded. Kuro did not wish to force his big brother Qin Yu to do anything. Especially now that the Pung Demon Emperor had returned, saving Bai Xian would obviously be a lot harder. Bai Ling grew silent after being reprimanded. "That's enough." Qin Yu smiled and said, "You all stay here for now. I'll go to the Black Crow City and inquire about some information. You all don't have to say any more. I've concealed my aura. No one would be able to discover me. Furthermore, If the situation turns bad, I can also hide in the Jianglan's realm. I do not believe that the Peng Demon Emperor would be able to find the Jianglan's realm. Ho Fei also smiled. That's right. Unless the Peng Demon Emperor dared to burn down the entire Black Crow Star like Emperor Yu, it would be impossible for him to find the Jianglan's realm. Even if he found it, he would not be able to break it open. Kuro also smiled. Amen, well then I'll leave first. After Qin Yu finished saying that, he disappeared from the Jianglan's realm. Black Crow Star, inside the Imperial Palace. The Peng Demon Emperor had returned with the 3 great experts. At the same time, he had also ordered Zhongju to go to the Imperial Palace. When Zhongju received the order, he was also a bit nervous. Humph. I do not believe that the Peng Demon Emperor would really dare to kill me. Zhongju clenched his teeth. His footsteps became firm, and he directly walked toward the Imperial Palace's speech hall. The Peng Demon Emperor wore a golden crown on his head. He wore a golden gown and a pair of golden battle boots. Just like that, he was sitting in the main hall. Below the main hall, Aoku, Lu Tu and Bai Feng were sitting cross-legged on 2 sides. In front of the 3 of them was a short table. On the table was a lot of delicacies. Aoku, Lu Tu and Bai Feng simultaneously looked toward the entrance. They saw Zhongju calmly walking into the main hall. He then said respectfully, Your Majesty, sit, said the Peng Demon Emperor indifferently. Thank you, Your Majesty. Zhongju walked to the side and sat down. It just so happened that there were 2 people sitting on the left and right sides of the main hall. Zhongju, the Peng Demon Emperor's sharp voice sounded. I've heard that you secretly brought Bai Xian out this time, and even wanted to gift her to Kuro in them? Zhongju slightly bowed and said, That's right. It was meaningless for him to quibble. What do you want to say? The Peng Demon Emperor looked at Zhongju. Zhongju nodded and said with a smile, Your Majesty ought to know that I have a relationship with Qin Yu and his brothers. I have also received kindness from their seniors. They asked me for help. How could I not help them when I owe them a favor? This time around, it could be considered as me returning their kindness. Furthermore, it's merely a Bai Xian, a mere demon king. What harm is there in gifting her to them? Bai Xian is indeed not important. However, the Peng Demon Emperor's voice suddenly grew cold. A frightening aura pressed down on Zhongju and caused his heart to sink. However, that Kuro is extremely important. I must definitely have that Kuro die. I must have him die. Do you understand? The sound of gnashing his teeth caused Zhongju's heart to tremble. The Peng Demon Emperor's voice slowed down. Zhongju, you ought to know that I think highly of you. Other than me, you are the only golden-winged Peng King of our Peng clan. I do not wish for the position of the next Peng Demon Emperor to be obtained by the Dark Lightning Peng King. The Bird clan possessed a total of 4 super divine beasts. They were the Phoenix, the 7-colored peacock, and the Peng clan's 2 super divine beasts, the Golden-winged Peng King and the Dark Lightning Peng King. Every single Peng Demon Emperor was definitely either a Golden-winged Peng King or a Dark Lightning Peng King. I am the Golden-winged Peng King. Thus, I have taken special care of you. However, do not think that I will not kill you. I'll warn you this time. If you were to go against my wishes again, I would rather have the Dark Lightning Peng King become the next Peng Demon Emperor than kill you. Do you understand? The Peng Demon Emperor's gaze was still that ruthless. Yes, Your Majesty. Zhongju's heart trembled. He knew the temperament of the current Peng Demon Emperor very well. If he were to go against his wishes, he would definitely kill him. This time around, because Zhongju was a super divine beast Golden-winged Peng King, Golden-winged Great Peng Bird, possessed a very honorable status, and was exactly the same as the Peng Demon Emperor. The Peng Demon Emperor had only warned him once. Bai Feng. The Peng Demon Emperor looked to Bai Feng. Your subordinate is here, said Bai Feng respectfully. The Peng Demon Emperor ordered. That Qin Yu and them are extremely important to Bai Xian. I order you to announce to the world that in 6 months, Bai Xian will be executed on the Yellow Lion Mountain of the Black Crow Star. Zhongju was shocked. Execute Bai Xian? And announce to the world? Wasn't it obvious that he wanted to attract Qin Yu and them? The Peng Demon Emperor continued. In these 6 months, restrict by Xian's power, and tie her to the summit of the Yellow Lion Mountain. Aoku, you shall lead 3 demon emperors and a group of guards to watch over her. At the same time, set up the profound golden illusion array in the surroundings where Bai Xian is tied up. Bai Xian is responsible for spreading this news. You must let everyone know about it. Aoku is responsible for setting up the profound golden illusion array, as well as watching over Bai Xian. Once Kuro and them appear, you are to immediately notify me. The Peng Demon Emperor swept his gaze. Bai Feng and Aoku both bowed. Your subordinate accepts the order. Chapter 412. Episode 13. Chapter 29. Infiltration on a street in the East District of the Black Crow City. A short-haired youth with a very bright appearance was walking on the street. He had a smile on his face at all times. However, when the other people on the street saw this youth, they consciously made way for him. That was because no one was able to sense the aura of this youth. This youth was Qin Yu's changed appearance. Never would I have thought that after training in the 9 steps dark gold body, it would become difficult to conceal one's aura. Qin Yu didn't know whether to laugh or cry in his heart. After training in the 9 steps dark gold body, his bones and muscles would become stronger. After all, when one's body was strong, others would not be able to discover anything with their immortal awareness. However, when training one's body to a certain extent, one would definitely have a strong force appear. Qin Yu possessed the 9 steps force within his body. The 9 steps force was actually fused with every part of Qin Yu's body. As the 9 steps force covered every part of his body, it was very easy for others to discover it. Thus, Qin Yu absorbed all of the 9 steps force within his body into the black hole. At the same time, he stopped the 9 steps dark gold body martial technique. Only by doing this would he not emit any aura. This black hole is quite strange. Once one enters it, one's immortal awareness would not be able to detect anything. Qin Yu had a slight smile on his face. Actually, this black hole could be considered as a spatial tunnel. It could not be considered as completely within the immortal, devil and demon realm. Thus, it would naturally be difficult for outsiders to detect it. Qin Yu's pace was not fast. However, his goal was very clear: the residence of the Dragon Clan's expert Yupan. If he were to rely on himself to investigate, who knows how long he would have to wait. If he were to rely on the troops of the Dragon Clan, it would be much easier. After all, they had their own intelligence network on the Black Crow Star. Shuttling through the crowd, Qin Yu walked for more than 4 hours, and finally finished half of the journey. Ladies and gentlemen, His Majesty has ordered that Bai Xian will be executed on the summit of the Yellow Lion Mountain in 6 months. Please look at this announcement for details. A group of Imperial Guards was flying in the sky. Once this voice was transmitted, a large number of people on the street immediately started to gather. Public execution of someone? This was extremely rare on the Black Crow Star. Only those who had committed the most heinous crimes would be punished. As for this Bai Xian, not many people on Black Crow Planet had heard of her. Bai Xian? Qin Yu's figure turned into an afterimage. In 2 or 3 steps, he arrived at the place closest to the Imperial Guard. He saw a black crystal board stuck to a high wall by the roadside. There were 2 lines of golden words on the black crystal board. The golden words were constantly flashing with golden light. It was daytime now, so the golden light was not obvious. At night, one would be able to see it from afar. Qin Yu looked at the 2 lines of words carefully. Bai Xian, a member of the Skylark clan, has disobeyed His Majesty's orders and committed a crime of disobedience. She will be imprisoned on the peak of Yellow Lion Mountain for 6 months. After 6 months, she will be executed on the peak of Yellow Lion Mountain, on the 3rd day of the 11th lunar month. Qin Yu's eyelids twitched. 6 months, public execution, and even announced it to the world. Qin Yu muttered to himself for a moment. He had already guessed what the Peng Demon Emperor wanted to do. This Peng Demon Emperor actually used such a method. A trace of anger rose in Qin Yu's heart. It was very clear that the Peng Demon Emperor wanted to lure Qin Yu and his brothers to go save Bai Xian. As for the peak of Yellow Lion Mountain, It was certain that it would be a mountain of blades and a sea of flames. Even if it wasn't, the Pung Demon Emperor would still set up an inescapable net to wait for the three of them. If Qin Yu and them were to go, it was very possible for them to be captured or even killed. However, if they didn't go, then Bai Xian would be killed. Yellow Lion Mountain, Yellow Lion Mountain. Qin Yu muttered. He then disappeared from the street. He had already entered the Jianglan's realm. Where's that youth next to him? Could it be that he still dares to use teleportation in the surroundings of this many people? Furthermore, when the Imperial Guards melted the announcement board onto the wall earlier, there were still energy fluctuations in the surroundings. Although it was very light, it was still very possible for him to be trapped in the spatial cracks and be strangled to death. The cultivators that witnessed the scene of Qin Yu disappearing were all shocked. Old brother, don't bother about that reckless person. Say, who exactly is this Bai Xian? She was actually able to be publicly executed? The surrounding crowd started to discuss again. Inside the Jianglan's realm, Kuro and Bai Ling were currently discussing together. The person that they were discussing was precisely Bai Xian. If they did not save Bai Xian, then the two of them would not be able to feel at ease. Big brother Yu, how about we sneak into the Jianglan's realm right now and find an opportunity to save Big Sister? Once we save Big Sister, we'll return to the Jianglan's realm. There shouldn't be any danger. Bai Ling was so anxious that her mind was about to become chaotic. Kuro shook his head. You're confused. Ling, you said to sneak in. But how are we supposed to sneak into the Imperial City? You said to go save her, but she's currently being heavily imprisoned. How are we supposed to save her? Sigh. Bai Ling's eyes were red. Because of this matter, she had already cried many times. Kuro sighed and then embraced Bai Ling suddenly. The sound of footsteps sounded from outside. Bai Ling immediately sat up straight. Kuro also looked outside the door. When he saw who it was, he immediately displayed a joyous expression. Big brother, you have news of Big Sister Bai Xian? Qin Yu nodded and then sat on the chair. Really? Big brother? Then when are we going out to save Big Sister? Bai Ling promptly asked. Qin Yu shook his head. He had a trace of worry on his face. Earlier when I went out, before I even saw you Pan, I discovered that the Pung Demon Emperor had already announced something to the world. Big brother, what's the matter? Is it related to that Bai Xian? Ho Fei walked in from outside. The residences of the three brothers were very close to each other. Right after Qin Yu came in, Ho Fei immediately walked over. Hearing Ho Fei's question, Qin Yu nodded. That's right, it's related to Bai Xian. The Pung Demon Emperor has announced to the world that in 6 months' time, Bai Xian will be executed on the summit of the Yellow Lion Mountain. Executed? Bai Ling was startled. Kuro also looked to Qin Yu in shock. Qin Yu nodded. Bai Ling hurriedly said, Big brother, we must save Big Sister. We must save her before 6 months. Otherwise, Big Sister will be executed. Public execution. Kuro muttered to himself. Big Sister Bai Xian cannot be considered as someone who has committed an extremely heinous crime. If the Pung Demon Emperor wanted to kill her, he could just directly kill her. For him to announce to the world that he'll execute her after 6 months, he must have some sort of scheme. Qin Yu nodded. That's right. Before executing Bai Xian, that Pung Demon Emperor still wants to tie Bai Xian up on the summit of the Yellow Lion Mountain for 6 months. She'll be tied up like that for 6 months. Only after 6 months will she be executed. Fuck, tying her up on the summit of the Yellow Lion Mountain for 6 months. Isn't this clearly a trap for us? Ho Fei was a bit angry. Qin Yu also felt helpless in his heart. Kuro and Bai Ling glanced at each other. Kuro stood up. He faced Qin Yu and Ho Fei and said, Big brother, monkey, I know that this time around, that Pung Demon Emperor has definitely set up an inescapable net for us. All of this was caused by us wanting to save Big Sister Bai Xian. Big brother, Big Sister Bai Xian is not related to you too. Big brother, this time around, it's enough for me to go save Big Sister Bai Xian. What nonsense are you spouting? Qin Yu frowned. He looked at Kuro with an ice-cold gaze. Xiaohei, tell me, if I were to be in that sort of situation, would you watch with folded arms? Kuro was stunned. You muddle-headed mixed-hair bird, Gaga. Ho Fei was giggling on the side. That's enough. Qin Yu lightly sighed. He said. Since it's 6 months, then the closer it is to the end, the more tense it will be. I reckon that the first half-month will also be very tense. I've decided to save Bai Xian in a month and a half. Kuro, Bai Ling and Ho Fei all looked to Qin Yu. For that Peng Demon Emperor to dare to do such a thing, he definitely has absolute certainty in being able to capture us. If we want to save Bai Xian, our greatest reliance would be the Jianglan's realm. Qin Yu looked to his brothers and spoke his own thoughts. This time around, after we save Bai Xian, if we are unable to escape, then we'll directly enter the Jianglan's realm. We also do not need to care about what happens in the outside world. We only need to focus on training in the Jianglan's realm. After all, the outside world does not possess any attraction to us. When our strength reaches the peak, or even after undergoing the divine tribulation and ascending to the divine realm, the Peng Demon Emperor would naturally not be able to do anything to us. Qin Yu lightly smiled and said. Qin Yu had made his preparations. If they were unable to escape, then they'll enter the Jianglan's realm and train to the peak in one go. With the Jianglan's realm, Qin Yu did not fear that the Peng Demon Emperor would be able to do anything to them 3 brothers. That's right. After we save Bai Xian, if we are unable to escape, then we'll enter the Jianglan's realm. Fuck, that son of a bitch Peng Demon Emperor. We cannot provoke him in the immortal devil and demon realm. Once we reach the divine realm, we'll play him to death. When we reach the divine realm, he would no longer have any inherited treasures. At that time, I'll see how arrogant he can be. Ho Fei said angrily. Hearing what Ho Fei said, Qin Yu, Kuro and Bai Ling all started to laugh. That's right, when we reach the divine realm, we'll play him to death. Qin Yu said while laughing. On the Black Crow Star, there were only the Black Crow City and the Imperial City. As for the other places, they were mostly plains, mountain forests, swamps, oceans and so on. It was also possible for people to live in some small places. However, the population was extremely sparse. On the summit of the Yellow Lion Mountain, the Yellow Lion Mountain was the place where the successive generations of Peng Demon Emperors had executed mortals who had committed extremely heinous crimes. On the summit of the Yellow Lion Mountain stood a black pillar. Many of the criminals were tied to this pillar before they were executed. And now Bai Xian was tied to this pillar. She had already not eaten or drank for close to a month now. At her level, logically, there should be no need for her to eat or drink. Merely, Bai Xian's yuaning was completely restricted. She was unable to use the slightest bit of energy. Without any energy in her body, Bai Xian had been starving the entire time. However, she merely possessed the physical body of a level 7 demon king. She was not an ordinary person. Even if she were to starve the entire time, at the very most, her physical body would gradually dry up. It was impossible for her to die. After all, her soul was able to separate itself from her physical body. Unfortunately, even her soul had been restricted. Bai Xian's hair and face were covered. She appeared like a beggar. Being exposed to the wind and sun on the summit of the mountain for a month had already caused her to be in a very sorry state. Die! Bai Xian sighed in her heart. If only I were to die earlier. Bai Xian wished for death. Merely, her life and death was no longer under her control. The only thing she could do was to endure these days of being trapped on the summit of the mountain and being watched by countless people. That's right, watch. At the foot of the Yellow Lion Mountain, there was a large amount of people watching Bai Xian. Those who were publicly executed were generally all extraordinary people. Seeing those great people being publicly executed, there were still a lot of people watching. Bai Xian, who was not famous, had also attracted a lot of people. What sort of great person is Bai Xian? She's even surrounded by a powerful great formation array. Even my demon awareness is unable to pass through it. A person who was watching from the foot of the mountain cursed helplessly. Who knows, however, to be able to be executed on the summit of the Yellow Lion Mountain, she could be considered to have left her name in the immortal, devil and demon realm. Compared to other mediocre people, she's a lot better. A middle-aged man sighed and said, "Many cultivators sought fame, and did not care about life and death. After what the Pung Demon Emperor did, Bai Xian's name had spread out. Many people were envious of her. At a certain corner on the mountainside of the Yellow Lion Mountain, there was a person hiding in the dark. It was precisely Qin Yu, who had been investigating the Yellow Lion Mountain for 3 entire days. Qin Yu had relied on his eyes to observe, being struck up a conversation with others and so on. Now, Qin Yu had practically completely understood everything that was happening on the Yellow Lion Mountain. Demon Emperor Aoku is the leader. He also has 3 mediocre demon emperors under him. The people who are actually guarding the mountain every day are those pitiful 30 guards. And on the summit of the mountain, there's also a great formation array surrounding Bai Xian. Qin Yu already had a risky plan in his heart. This was the only method that Qin Yu could think of. "Sai, Brother Wang, these days are truly boring. Lord Aoku and the other 3 are resting comfortably. Us brothers have to change shifts every 2 hours. Stop muttering. If we were to be discovered, we'd be miserable." 2 guards were chatting idly as they guarded Bai Xian. The guards were divided into groups of 5. There were a total of 6 groups. These 6 groups would change shifts every 2 hours. Level 9 Demon King. Disguising myself as a level 9 Demon King, with my current strength. If that Aoku were to use his immortal awareness, he might be able to discover me. Amen, I can only gamble. Not far away, a person was currently looking at these 2 guards. In these past days, Qin Yu had already deduced from the time when the guards would change shifts that the next shift would be these 2 guards. Merely even now, Qin Yu had yet to discover a single guard. They were mostly in groups of 2 or 3. I do not believe that Aoku would always use his demon awareness to investigate. With an intention from Qin Yu, Kuro suddenly appeared beside him. "Xiaohei, you and I will immediately kill one of them, and use the soul-searching technique to obtain their memories. After that, we'll immediately change shifts and enter the Great Formation Array," Qin Yu said via spiritual awareness voice transmission. Kuro nodded. On the summit of this Yellow Lion Mountain, only Aoku's soul is a bit stronger than ours. The other 3 demon emperors are not much. As long as Aoku does not investigate, no one will be able to discover that we're impersonators. If he were to discover us, we would have to use brute force. Got it? Kuro nodded. Soon after, Qin Yu and Hou Fei rushed toward the 2 guards not far away like lightning. These 2 guards were both level 9 demon kings. However, before Qin Yu and Hou Fei, they were unable to resist at all. Qin Yu directly took the corpses of these 2 guards into the Jianglan's realm to destroy the corpses. Qin Yu and Kuro's appearances and figures started to change. They turned into the appearance of the 2 guards. "Li Yan, it's time to change shifts. Quickly," a voice sounded from afar. "Got it. Coming. Brother Wang, let's go. It's time to change shifts," Qin Yu replied. At the same time, he said to Kuro beside him. These 2 impersonators directly began to walk toward the gathering of guards. Chapter 413. Night slowly descended. 5 Imperial guards walked toward the profound golden illusion formation in a row. Among the 5 Imperial guards were Qin Yu and Kuro. The profound golden illusion formation was an extremely powerful illusion formation. This formation was personally set up by a level 8 demon emperor, Aoku. With Qin Yu's strength, he was still unable to forcibly break it open. In order to save Bai Xian, he could only rely on impersonating an Imperial guard to enter. Kuro's gaze was cast toward the black pillar in the center of the profound golden illusion formation. A person was tied to the black pillar. Big Sister Bai Xian. Kuro's heart trembled. Even though Bai Xian's face was covered by her messy long hair, even though the dust made her look like a beggar, even though Kuro was looking from afar, he was able to recognize that figure with a single glance. It was the big sister Bai Xian who had cared for him so much back then. "Xiaohei, have a natural expression. What are you looking at?" Qin Yu's voice sounded in Kuro's mind. Kuro suddenly woke up. "Little Black, that silly look just now. It's easy to make people suspicious," Qin Yu said via voice transmission. Seeing Xiaohei's appearance, He was completely able to understand. However, at this moment, they could not afford to make the slightest mistake. Once they were discovered, they could only fight. However, even if they were to fight, they should at least enter the formation. Otherwise, how could they save by Exion? Brothers, listen up. The leading man of the group said in a clear voice. We are about to enter the profound golden illusion formation. This profound golden illusion formation changes every 2 hours. Every time, the passage will be different. Although we have guarded it many times, we must not be careless when entering the formation. If we are careless and fall into the formation, we should all know the consequences. Immediately, a series of shouts of agreement sounded. The profound golden illusion formation occupied a relatively large area. In the center of the formation was the place whereby Exion was tied up. There were 5 imperial guards surrounding the black pillar that was tied up. Seeing this scene, Chinyu was slightly puzzled. Guarding by Exion? Why must the imperial guards enter the formation to guard her? Could it be that they are worried that someone will break the formation and suddenly appear inside it? Chinyu's guess was indeed one of the reasons for this arrangement. After all, there were many strange people in the world. Who knew if Chinyu and his brothers were proficient in array formations? However, Chinyu did not know that there was a more important reason for this arrangement. Alright, it's time. The leader said to Chinyu and the other 3. I will inform everyone of the passage for the next 2 hours through my demon consciousness. Everyone, please don't step on the wrong path. Soon after, the leader transmitted the passageway to the distant golden illusory array to the others. Chinyu and Kuro glanced at each other, and a hint of a smile appeared in their eyes. Then, under the guidance of the leader, Chinyu's group of 5 carefully followed the safe path and slowly approached the core of the profound golden illusion array. At this time, the 5 people who were guarding the array saw Chinyu's group of 5 and smiled. Xiaohei, our luck is still pretty good. That Aoku actually did not use his demon consciousness to investigate even now. Chinyu was very relaxed. At this time, even if they were to be discovered by Aoku, Chinyu was still certain that he would be able to save by Exion in an instant, and then rapidly leave through the passageway. Even if he were to be surrounded by the Peng Demon Emperor in them, he would still be able to enter the Jianglan's realm and train in peace. Although Chinyu had the desire to explore the immortal, devil and demon realm, Chinyu wanted to increase his strength so that he could meet Li Er as soon as possible. I'm afraid that Aoku is not that diligent, said Kuro via voice transmission. His gaze was unable to help himself from occasionally glancing at by Exion in the distance. Seeing Kuro acting like this, Chinyu felt a bit helpless in his heart. However, he did not really care about it. These 3 guards and 2 impersonators slowly proceeded toward the core safe area. Chinyu's group of 5 finally passed through the profound golden illusion array and arrived at the core safe area. Heh, you finally arrived. Well then, us brothers shall go and rest first. The leader of the 5 guards said with a smile. Immediately after, the 5 guards happily left the profound golden illusion array one by one in an orderly manner. Chinyu's group of 5 casually arranged themselves in a row. With that black pillar as the center, they formed a large circle. By Exion's eyes were hazy with tears. Little you, little sister. I can only do this much for the 2 of you. By Exion muttered in her heart. The scene of that day when she was captured by Aoku and brought back to the imperial city, and then summoned by the Peng Demon Emperor Zong Yan appeared in her mind. In a spacious palace hall. Above the palace hall, the Peng Demon Emperor Zong Yan's body was completely enveloped in a golden color. Below him was by Exion, and beside her stood Aoku respectfully. You're by Exion? That sharp voice seemed to have pierced through her soul, causing by Exion's entire body to tremble. By Exion, who was kneeling on the ground, raised her head to look. She was unable to clearly see the appearance of the Peng Demon Emperor. All she saw was his pair of ice-cold and ruthless eyes. I'm asking you, you're not going to answer? The Peng Demon Emperor's voice was slightly higher. I am by Exion. By Exion's voice was very low and deep. It was a bit hoarse. By Exion, do you agree? Said the Peng Demon Emperor indifferently. By Exion was pondering. The Peng Demon Emperor continued. Even if you don't agree, you'll still be bound on the summit of the Yellow Lion Mountain and be unable to save Qin Yu and them. However, if you were to become my spiritual beast, you'd instead be able to save Kuro and Bai Ling. I'd also be able to kill Qin Yu. Isn't this the best of both worlds? Could it be that you're afraid of becoming my spiritual beast and being killed by me? Death? How could I possibly be afraid of death? Bai Xian raised her head and looked to the Peng Demon Emperor in the main hall. Peng Demon Emperor, I agree to become your spiritual beast. However, you must personally swear that you will not kill Kuro and Bai Ling. Bai Xian had thought it through. Even if she didn't agree, she would not be of much use. If she were to agree, then she would instead be able to save Kuro and Bai Ling's lives. Although she did not understand why the Peng Demon Emperor wanted her to become his spiritual beast, but Bai Xian did not even care about her soul being destroyed. What else could she care about? As for the so-called true target that the Peng Demon Emperor wanted to kill, Kuro's big brother, Qin Yu, Bai Xian merely felt a bit of guilt in her heart. Good, I agree to your request. The Peng Demon Emperor agreed straightforwardly. I, Peng Demon Emperor Zhong Yan, hereby swear that as long as Bai Xian becomes my spiritual beast, I, Peng Demon Emperor Zhong Yan, would definitely not kill Kuro and Bai Ling. If I were to violate this oath, then my soul shall be destroyed. The Peng Demon Emperor's voice was very firm. Hearing each and every word, a smile appeared on Bai Xian's face. Come. Bai Xian lowered her guard and closed her eyes. A spiritual beast collar flew out from the Peng Demon Emperor's hand and enveloped Bai Xian's head. It then entered her brain and fused with Bai Xian's soul. The transaction between Bai Xian and the Peng Demon Emperor was a success. Bai Xian was brought out. Only Aoku and the Peng Demon Emperor remained in the main hall. Aoku looked to the Peng Demon Emperor in confusion. He asked respectfully, Your Majesty, wasn't your true purpose to kill Kuro? That Qin Yu shouldn't have any relationship with your Majesty, right? I merely deceived that Bai Xian, said the Peng Demon Emperor indifferently. Then the oath that your Majesty made earlier. Aoku looked to the Peng Demon Emperor. The Peng Demon Emperor turned around and left the main hall. An indifferent voice sounded in the main hall. I merely swore that I would not kill Kuro and Bai Ling. Could it be that even if I don't kill them, you all cannot kill them? Aoku suddenly realized. Bai Xian was in a hazy and muddle-headed state. Die, when would I be able to die? Bai Xian wished for death in her heart. If only I could see little you again before I die. Back then, when Kuro had just entered the Bai clan, Bai Xian and Bai Ling had both fallen in love with this younger generation Kuro, especially after Kuro had displayed his astonishing talent, and his power had increased at an astonishing speed. The two of them were both deeply in love with Xiaohei. Merely, when Bai Xian saw that Bai Ling and Kuro were together, she hid her thoughts in the deepest part of her heart, and never spoke about it again. Big sis Bai Xian. A faintly discernible voice suddenly sounded in Bai Xian's mind. That voice was so familiar. Back in the Bai clan, she had heard this voice countless times. Am I dreaming? A bitter smile appeared on Bai Xian's face. Big sis Bai Xian, it's me. Little you, I've come to save you. The voice once again sounded in Bai Xian's mind. Bai Xian was abruptly woken up. Her eyes shined as she looked forward. Before her was a very ordinary Imperial Guard. Merely, that Imperial Guard's eyes were so familiar. Xiaohei, is that you? Bai Xian grew excited. She wanted to send a voice transmission. However, her soul was restricted, and she was unable to send a voice transmission. Even if she wanted to speak, she could only use her voice to speak. Qin Yu, who stood to the side, noticed this scene and lightly smiled. At the same time, he sent a voice transmission. Xiaohei, don't say any more. The situation might change if we delay. Immediately go and save her. Qin Yu rejoiced in his heart. Up until now, he had yet to discover that Xiaohei had used his demon awareness to investigate. Got it, big brother. At this moment, Kuro was very happy. Big sis Bai Xian, my big brother and I have come to save you. Please wait a moment. After Kuro finished saying that, he glanced at Qin Yu. The two of them were about to attack and kill the other 3 Imperial Guards in an instant. When Bai Xian and Kuro first said those words, Bai Xian was very excited and had yet to realize that she was in danger. However, at this moment she woke up with a start. Oh! With a gust of wind, Qin Yu's left and right hands were like sharp blades as they pierced into the abdomens of the two imperial guards. He directly crushed their yuanying. As for Kuro, he also displayed an astonishing speed and killed the other imperial guard with a single move. With her martial power restricted and her soul restricted, the current Bai Xian could only use her voice to speak. Little Yu. A hoarse voice sounded. After not eating or drinking for so long, although Bai Xian did not die, her throat had already dried up. Merely at this moment, Bai Xian was trying her best to speak. Her dry throat was emitting a hoarse voice. Qin Yu and Kuro both looked toward the direction where the voice was coming from. Leave quickly, leave quickly. Bai Xian said those words with all her might. Rest assured, Kuro's body was like lightning. With a single hand, he cut off the rope that bound Bai Xian. Kuro looked to Bai Xian excitedly. Big sis Bai Xian, you will never have to suffer again. I guarantee that. Bai Xian had an anxious expression on her face. Peng Demon Emperor, he's coming. She was thinking with a hoarse voice. While others might not know, Bai Xian herself knew very well that she had become the Peng Demon Emperor's spiritual beast. It was likely that the Peng Demon Emperor knew everything that she was thinking in her heart. Earlier, when Kuro sent a voice transmission to her, it was likely that the Peng Demon Emperor already knew about it. It's all right, they still haven't discovered us. Kuro said via voice transmission. Big sis Bai Xian, don't make any noise. Let's go. Qin Yu took a glance at Kuro. Quickly, Qin Yu and Bai Xian were like lightning. They were about to leave through the familiar safe path. However, in an instant the stars moved. The entire profound golden illusion array started to spin rapidly. The entire illusion array was changing unceasingly. Kuro, this time around you're definitely going to die. Several figures appeared in the air. They coldly looked at Qin Yu and Kuro. The person leading them was the Peng Demon Emperor Zhong Yan. Chapter 414. Seeing this scene, Qin Yu was shocked. This profound golden illusion array had already been operated to its limit. It was no longer in the same state as before. That safe route was definitely no longer feasible. The most important thing was, the group of experts from the Peng Demon Emperor outside had caused Qin Yu's heart to feel heavy. How could this be? How did the Peng Demon Emperor discover us? Qin Yu was unable to understand. Could it be that the shattered soul jade slips of those guards that were killed were discovered? Qin Yu guessed in his heart. That shouldn't be the case. The Peng Demon Emperor couldn't possibly be looking at the shattered soul jade slips all the time. Usually, he would only look at it once a day. How could he discover us this quickly? Even now, Qin Yu was still unable to figure out what was wrong with his plan. Big brother. Kuro stood beside Qin Yu. His brows were also creased. How did the Peng Demon Emperor and them arrive so quickly? If Aoku had used his demon awareness to discover us, big brother, you ought to be able to sense it too, right? Qin Yu nodded. Indeed, if the Peng Demon Emperor had used his demon awareness to discover them, he would definitely be able to sense it. Furthermore, the Peng Demon Emperor and Bai Feng are all here. Clearly they were prepared. Qin Yu was still very calm. To be able to save Bai Xian meant that they had succeeded. So what if they were unable to leave the profound golden illusion array? If the three brothers were to directly hide in the Jianglan's realm, how could the Peng Demon Emperor possibly do anything to them? Big brother, now that we've saved big sister Bai Xian, I do not have any more requests. Even if we are unable to escape today, we'll just directly enter the Jianglan's realm and slowly train there. No matter what that Peng Demon Emperor does outside, after we reach the divine realm, we'll properly trample on him. Kuro said to Qin Yu via voice transmission. Well said, haha. Qin Yu suddenly raised his head and started laughing. Kuro also started laughing heartily. Their laughter spread from the summit of the Yellow Lion Mountain in all directions. You're still laughing? Outside the Great Formation Array, the level 8 Demon Emperor Bai Feng sneered. Qin Yu and Kuro both smiled. To the three brothers, the immortal devil and demon realm, did not have much of an attraction. Although the three brothers still wanted to explore some wonderful places, they did not care even if they did not go. The one wearing the golden clothes, you must be the Pung Demon Emperor, right? Qin smiled and said to the Pung Demon Emperor outside, "How dare you?" Ao Ku, Bai Feng, Lu Tu and the several demon emperors behind the Pung Demon Emperor shouted almost simultaneously. "Shut your mouths," said Qin indifferently. "I'm talking with the Pung Demon Emperor. Why are you all interrupting?" At this moment, Qin Yu's mood was still extremely relaxed. He wanted to see what sort of crafty trick the Pung Demon Emperor could play. Yu, Ao Ku, and the other demonic emperors were instantly enraged. The Pung Demon Emperor extended his hand. All of the demon emperors grew silent. They merely continued to angrily stare at Qin Yu. The Pung Demon Emperor looked to Qin Yu with a pair of emotionless eyes. "You're Qin Yu? That lucky brat who obtained the 10,000 Beasts Atlas and the Bewitching God painting. That Qin Yu who relied on the 10,000 Beasts Atlas to kill a large group of immortal emperors under Emperor Yu? That's right." Qin Yu looked to the Pung Demon Emperor. With Qin Yu's current soul's level, and the assistance of Lu Xing's tear, he was able to clearly see the appearance of this Pung Demon Emperor. What caught Qin Yu's attention the most was, this Pung Demon Emperor's two eyebrows were like two sharp swords. His ice-cold gaze allowed Qin Yu to make some judgments about the Pung Demon Emperor. Generally, people like him were all extremely ruthless and ruthless. They were the type of people who would rather betray the world than have the world betray them. "Pung Demon Emperor, you seem to know me quite well. Could it be that you also want to obtain the 10,000 Beasts Atlas and the Bewitching God painting?" said Qin Yu with a smile. "Bewitching God painting?" The Pung Demon Emperor sneered. "The Bewitching God temple does not possess any attraction to me. How could the treasures within it possibly be comparable to my inherited treasure? As for the 10,000 Beasts Atlas, haha, I know that there are 3 demon emperors in it. However, in the entire immortal devil and demon realm, other than the Dragon Emperor and the Great Ape Emperor, who would dare to say that they're a match for me?" "Really?" Qin Yu asked instead. "Of course," said the Pung Demon Emperor naturally. "What about Emperor and I? Cyan Emperor?" said Qin Yu with a light smile. The Pung Demon Emperor's expression slightly changed. Qin Yu continued. "What about the legendary 3 great sovereigns of the Dark Star realm?" The Pung Demon Emperor's eyes were like lightning bursting forth. He stared at Qin Yu. "Never would I have expected that you know this much. Emperor Anai is a fire spirit phoenix born by the world. Furthermore, she's now a level 9 demon emperor. Even in the moment of danger, she's still able to turn into flames. However, I'm able to seriously injure her. As for the Cyan Emperor, I'm indeed unable to see through him. The 3 great sovereigns of the Dark Star realm. Under normal circumstances, I would not consider them." "Not consider them?" Qin Yu frowned. The Pung Demon Emperor said indifferently. "The people of the Dark Star realm rarely get involved in the matters of the outside world. What am I afraid of? Even if I were to fight, the 3 great sovereigns of the Dark Star realm are merely on par with our 3 great sovereigns of the demon realm." Qin Yu's heart shook. It would appear that these 3 great sovereigns of the Dark Star realm were truly extraordinary characters. "Qin Yu, why are you saying so much? Your 10,000 Beasts Atlas has Emperor and I, the Cyan Emperor, the 3 great sovereigns of the Dark Star realm? Haha, you don't. Thus today you'll undoubtedly die. Of course, you can escape into that Qin Yu immortal mansion. That idiot Emperor Yu was unable to break open a mere immortal mansion. However, I do not believe that even I cannot break open it." The Pung Demon Emperor was filled with confidence. The smile on Qin Yu's face was extremely brilliant. Qin Yu immortal mansion? Even now, the people of the immortal devil and demon realm still thought that he was hiding in the Qin Yu immortal mansion. How could those people know that he was hiding in the unprecedented spatial divine artifact, the Jianglan's realm? Even when Emperor Yu and the Mystic Emperor joined hands and attacked with the matchless Great Sword, they were still unable to affect the Jianglan's realm in the slightest. Even if the Pung Demon Emperor were to be 10 times stronger, he would likely still not be able to shake the Jianglan's realm. Hey, Pung Demon Emperor, I'm very curious. How did you discover that I'm here? From the way you've gathered a large group of people, it seems that you've made preparations. Qin Yu asked. Even if he were to enter the Jiang Lan's realm to train, he should at least be able to figure out this problem. You're very curious? The Pung Demon Emperor started to laugh. Aoku, Bai Feng and Lu Tu also started to laugh. At the same time, the Pung Demon Emperor's gaze turned to Bai Xian. With a light smile he said, Qin Yu, look. This little girl Bai Xian and Kuro are inseparable. Qin Yu turned around to look. At this moment, Bai Xian was chatting with Kuro. Kuro looked to Qin Yu and said with a smile, Big brother, I've already broken through the barrier within Big Sister Bai Xian's body. Bai Xian, you still have 10 breaths of time. Seize the time and chat with your good little brother. If you're late, then you would not have the chance to do so in your entire life, said the Pung Demon Emperor with a light smile. His voice was like a cold wind that penetrated into one's body. It caused Qin Yu and Kuro's hearts to tremble. Kuro immediately started to laugh in extreme anger. He looked to the Pung Demon Emperor. Pung Demon Emperor, 10 breaths of time? In your dreams, did you really think that you would have the chance to kill me? The Pung Demon Emperor smiled but did not answer. Little you. Bai Xian turned Kuro's face around to face her. She smiled happily and said, Let Big Sister look at you. Big Sister Bai Xian. Kuro felt that something seemed to be wrong. He started to panic. Qin Yu also felt a burst of panic in his heart. It was as if there was something that he had not thought of. Demon elemental energy ran through her entire body. Bai Xian's skin returned to its previous tender state. Her appearance also returned to its previous pretty appearance. Her pair of beautiful eyes were looking at Kuro. There was always a smile on her face. She seemed to be very happy, extremely happy. Big Sister Bai Xian, what's wrong? What's wrong? Tell me. Kuro said anxiously. Kuro and Qin Yu had never imagined that Bai Xian would become the Pung Demon Emperor's spiritual beast. After all, in order to become a spiritual beast, one must be completely willing. The two of them did not believe that Bai Xian would become the Pung Demon Emperor's spiritual beast willingly. Don't ask. Bai Xian smiled and shook her head. She merely looked at Kuro. It was as if she wanted to engrave Kuro's appearance in her heart. Engrave it in the depths of her soul, and never forget it. 10 breaths of time. At least 10 breaths of time. Little you is mine. Bai Xian felt relaxed. Time's up. The Pung Demon Emperor's voice sounded. Qin Yu and Kuro both felt that the situation was bad. At this moment, Bai Xian, who was in Kuro's bosom, slightly trembled. Her pupils started to slacken. However, she had a peaceful and happy smile on her face. It was as if she had fallen asleep. Even in death, Bai Xian did not tell Kuro that she liked him. Big Sister Bai Xian, Big Sister Bai Xian. Kuro shouted repeatedly in panic. However, Bai Xian had a sleeping appearance. Unfortunately, she would never wake up again. Kuro's demon awareness had already discovered that Bai Xian had died. However, he was unwilling to believe it. Big Sister Bai Xian. Kuro's sorrowful, indignant and painful voice sounded. Qin Yu, who stood to the side, also felt a burst of pain in his heart. Qin Yu suddenly turned his head to look outside of the Great Formation Array. The Pung Demon Emperor had a complacent smile on his face. How did Bai Xian become your spiritual beast? At this moment, if Qin Yu was still unable to guess what had happened, then he would truly be a fool. In that sort of situation, it was impossible for Qin Yu to think of another possibility for Bai Xian's death. You finally managed to guess it. The Pung Demon Emperor lightly smiled. I believe you should also understand why my men were able to arrive here in such a timely manner. Qin Yu's face was sunken. Bai Xian was the Pung Demon Emperor's spiritual beast. When Kuro first sent a demon awareness voice transmission to Bai Xian, the Pung Demon Emperor had likely already known about it. At that time, the Pung Demon Emperor had directly notified his subordinates and teleported here. Everything was now clear. However, Qin Yu was still puzzled. Why would Bai Xian willingly become the Pung Demon Emperor's spiritual beast? Pung Demon Emperor, I want you to die. Kuro angrily stared at the Pung Demon Emperor. His voice seemed to be squeezed out from between his teeth. It was filled with endless killing intent. I also want you to die, you little bastard. The Pung Demon Emperor coldly stared at Kuro. However, don't worry. This time around, I will definitely not have any mishaps, and have all of you fall into my hands. Especially you, Kuro, you little bastard. Your Majesty, they've all arrived. Aoku suddenly said respectfully. A group of demon emperors flew over to the Pung Demon Emperor from afar. A cruel smile appeared on the Pung Demon Emperor's face. Immediately set up the Sealing Element Refining Flames Array, and completely surround the area covered by this profound golden illusion array. No matter how Kuro and them fled, they're definitely within the profound golden illusion array. Sealing Element Refining Flames Array? Hearing this name, Qinyu's heart skipped a beat. Qinyu, the Sealing Element Refining Flames Array, is jointly set up by 16 demon emperors. Among these 16 demon emperors, 4 of them are level 7 demon emperors. In order to break through this Sealing Element Refining Flames Array, one would need a strength close to that of a level 9 demon emperor. That's right. I'm afraid that Ao Wushu from your 10,000 Beasts Atlas would be able to break through it, said the Pung Demon Emperor with a light smile. You can very well have him come out. Qinyu gradually calmed down. Xiaohei, don't be sad. Our current strength is still insufficient. We're still no match for the Pung Demon Emperor. He possesses an inherited treasure. In the immortal devil and demon realm, it's practically impossible for us to kill him. Qinyu consoled him via voice transmission. We possess the Jianglan's realm. There's no need for us to care about the Sealing Element Refining Flames Array. We'll directly enter the Jianglan's realm and properly train. When we reach the Divine Realm, we'll find this Pung Demon Emperor and settle the debt. Kuro held by Exion's corpse in his arms. Big brother, take Big Sis by Exion's corpse into the Jianglan's realm. After I return to the Jianglan's realm, I'll properly bury Big Sis. Kuro's low and hoarse voice sounded. Qinyu felt that the situation was bad. From Kuro's hoarse voice, he was able to sense Xiaohei's anger and grief. With an intention, Qinyu directly took by Exion's corpse into the Jianglan's realm. Kuro raised his head. He coldly looked at the Pung Demon Emperor and them. At the same time, he said via voice transmission, Big brother, for the time being, I do not wish to return to the Jianglan's realm. Today, I must definitely kill one of them. Don't mess around. Qinyu also said via voice transmission. Kuro merely shook his head and did not reply. Qinyu felt helpless in his heart. Xiaohei had grown up together with him. Qinyu also knew Xiaohei's temperament very well. If he had decided on something, then he would definitely do it. His temperament was also very similar to his own. Qinyu. Kuro, don't forget that you still have Bai Ling and He Tong. I can take a step back and temporarily not take you into the Jianglan's realm. However, when danger arrives, regardless of whether you've killed someone or not, you must return to the Jianglan's realm. Qinyu stared at Kuro. In order to take someone into the Jianglan's realm, the other party must not resist. Otherwise, Qinyu would have already taken Kuro into the Jianglan's realm. This was the safest method. Good. Kuro replied. Your Majesty, the Sealing Element Refining Flames Array has been set up, said a demon emperor respectfully. The Pung Demon Emperor nodded in satisfaction. By Feng Lu Tu Aoku, the 3 of you follow me into the Sealing Element Refining Flames Array. These 2 brats still haven't entered the Qingyu Immortal Mansion. It seems that they still want to fight against us. We'll satisfy their wish. The Sealing Element Refining Flames Array's light screen had cut through 1/3 of the Yellow Lion Mountain. The summit of the Yellow Lion Mountain was completely within it. The light screen of the Sealing Element Refining Flames Array temporarily disappeared. With the Pung Demon Emperor as the leader, the 3 level 8 demon emperors, Bai Feng, Lu Tu and Aoku calmly entered the Sealing Element Refining Flames Array. Soon after, the light screen returned to normal. The Pung Demon Emperor stood with his hands behind his back. Aoku, you go and remove the distant golden illusion array. Aoku, Bai Feng, Lu Tu, the 3 of you are in charge of Heiyu. As for me, I'll play with that Qinyu. Being bound by the oath, the Pung Demon Emperor did not dare to personally go and kill Kuro. Merely, If he were to have his three great subordinates attack together, it would be strange if Kuro was able to resist them. Chapter 4:15. With the sealing element refining flames array, the Pung Demon Emperor and them did not have to worry about Chinyu and Kuro escaping. Aoku directly went forward and removed the profound golden illusion array. Easily, the Great Formation array was removed. Seeing the Pung Demon Emperor and the other three enter, Chinyu merely took a glance at Kuro beside him. You still want to fight? Aoku, Bai Feng and Lu Tu sneered. Immediately after, the three of them turned into three blurs and charged toward Kuro. According to the Pung Demon Emperor's order, the three of them were to join hands to take care of Kuro. It was clear that they were determined to kill Kuro. And in this sort of situation, the three of them did not believe that they would fail. Xiao Hei, you simply do not have the opportunity to kill them. Give up for the time being. Chinyu said via voice transmission. At the same time, he wanted to send Kuro into the Jianglan's realm. Kuro turned around and took a glance at Chinyu. In the end, he gave up resisting. Whoosh! The three blurs missed. Where's he? Aoku, Bai Feng and Lu Tu looked at each other in dismay. Kuro, who was in front of them earlier, had disappeared just like that. The three of them simultaneously looked to Chinyu. Chinyu smiled and said, "Don't look anymore. Kuro has already entered the Chinyu Immortal Mansion. As for me," Chinyu was about to enter the Jianglan's realm. Suddenly, a thought flashed through Chinyu's mind. Perhaps we might be able to leave this place safely. Chinyu did not enter the Jianglan's realm. Chinyu Immortal Mansion. Humph, it's only a matter of time before you die. The Pung Demon Emperor was calmly walking over from afar. The Pung Demon Emperor seemed to be very confident in breaking through the Chinyu Immortal Mansion. Aoku, Bai Feng and Lu Tu silently attacked Chinyu with lightning-like speed. However, at the moment before they attacked, Chinyu had already attacked. His speed had reached the limit. Leaving behind a blur, Chinyu had arrived in front of Aoku. Old friend, this is the second time. Chinyu's face appeared in front of Aoku. Aoku was shocked. Aoku was well aware of Chinyu's strength. If Aoku had not transformed into his two original bodies, he would have been able to kill Aoku with just one body. This was especially true when Aoku had not even transformed into his combat form. Aoku's body transformed into his combat form at lightning speed. At the same time, the divine equipment spiked mace also smashed towards Aoku. Bang! It was as though two huge meteorites had collided. Rumbling sounds continued to spread outwards as Chinyu and Aoku separated at the same time. Why isn't Chinyu using his powerful finger technique? Aoku became confused. Back then, when Chinyu used the divine sword, Sky Piercer, and the sky-piercing finger, he had almost lost his life. The more powerful the collision, the stronger the rebound power. Borrowing the rebound power, Chinyu's body drew a beautiful curve. In an instant, he arrived before the other level 8 Demon Emperor, Bai Feng. Among the 3 level 8 Demon Emperors, Bai Feng's strength was the weakest. Humph! Bai Feng snorted coldly. The mid-quality divine sword in her hand turned into a ray of light and pierced towards Chinyu. Wherever the divine sword passed, the space would distort. Chinyu's body merely moved slightly. Other than that, there was practically no other change. The divine sword pierced into Chinyu's body. Like an ordinary iron sword piercing into solid leather, the divine sword seemed to be stuck. With great difficulty, it only managed to pierce into Chinyu's body. Bai Feng was shocked. She had heard that Chinyu's body was very strong, so strong that it was close to a divine artifact. However, when she truly experienced it, she had no choice but to say that it was abnormal. Pooh! Chinyu allowed Bai Feng's divine sword to pierce into his body. The blue-colored 9 steps force accelerated through the black hole. This most frightening sky-piercing finger directly broke through Bai Feng's defense and pierced into her dantian. As for Chinyu's divine sword, it pierced into her dantian. Bang! The 9 steps force contained within the divine sword also exploded. Bai Feng's Yuanying was lucky enough to dodge the sky-piercing finger. However, When faced with the 9 steps force that was shot in all directions by the divine sword that pierced into her dantian, it was finally attacked. The Yuanying, whose defense was extremely weak, collapsed on the spot. How could this be? Bai Feng had an expression of disbelief. She had never expected that her bird clan, an existence second only to the Peng Demon Emperor, would actually die here. She had died in a battle that seemed to be a definite victory. She didn't even have the time to use her special skill, Phoenix Tail Needle. Boom! Bai Feng's body heavily landed on the ground. Level 8 Demon Emperor Bai Feng dead. I'll gladly accept this medium-grade divine artifact. At the same time when Qin Yu killed Bai Feng, he had also grabbed her divine sword. At the same time when he grabbed this divine sword, Qin Yu's immortal awareness had already covered the surrounding area. The several people on the battlefield, including the Peng Demon King, were all carefully observed by Qin Yu, especially the Peng Demon Emperor. Qin Yu had been extremely careful the entire time. At this moment, Aoku and Lu Tu, who had discovered this scene from the side, were shocked. Bai Feng, who had been their partner for so many years, had actually died just like that. At the same time when Bai Feng's corpse landed on the ground, a golden light, as if passing through time and space, instantly arrived in front of Qin Yu. How could he be this fast? Qin Yu, who had already used his immortal awareness to pay attention to the Peng Demon Emperor, was only able to slightly move his body from the moment he discovered that the Peng Demon Emperor was about to attack him. Bang! A heavy fist landed on the chest of Qin Yu, who had a shocked expression. Like a ray of light, Qin Yu smashed onto the black pillar. That black pillar that was specially used to bind people shattered with a loud bang. As for Qin Yu, his momentum did not decrease at all. He was ruthlessly smashed onto the ground. Bang! Even the summit of the Yellow Lion Mountain trembled. Your body is truly hard. The Peng Demon Emperor clenched his fist. If Qin Yu's body was a bit weaker, then Qin Yu wouldn't have been smashed onto the ground by a single fist. Instead, his body would have been pierced through by a single fist. Where's he? Aoku and Lu Tu flew to the crater that Qin Yu had smashed into. That crater was very shallow. It was only as deep as a person. However, right after Qin Yu was smashed into it, he suddenly disappeared. The Peng Demon Emperor's voice sounded. Don't worry, earlier when that Qin Yu landed on the ground, he had already disappeared. I think that Qin Yu Immortal Mansion ought to have turned into some sort of speck and hidden on the ground. The Peng Demon Emperor pointed at the location where Qin Yu had landed. Your Majesty is wise, said Aoku and Lu Tuesday. The Peng Demon Emperor said coldly. Well then, in that situation earlier, Bai Feng was still killed by that Qin Yu. Bai Feng was truly careless. She cannot blame anyone for her death. Let's leave this place now and go outside of the Sealing Element Refining Flames array. We'll let them burn her with their extremely silent heavenly flames. Yes. Aoku and Lu Tu accepted the order. With the Peng Demon Emperor as the leader, Aoku and Lu Tu followed behind him. One on the left and one on the right. They directly flew out of the range of the Sealing Element Refining Flames array. Compared to when they entered, only Bai Feng was missing. Inside the Jianglan's realm. So dangerous. That speed was truly too fast. Just thinking about it, Qin Yu felt a burst of lingering fear. With Qin Yu's chest as the center, it had completely caved in. The majority of his breastbone had already been shattered. Had it not been for the fact that his life elemental energy was rapidly recovering, that fist strike would have likely pierced through Qin Yu's body. However, at this moment, Qin Yu had already completely recovered. I reckon that the Peng Demon Emperor must use the Sealing Element Refining Flames array to burn him, right? Qin Yu had a slight smile on his face. Merely, I don't know if we'll be lucky enough to escape this time around. Immediately after, Qin Yu's figure rapidly flew toward the distance. That was the residence of Qin Yu and his brothers. Outside of the Sealing Element Refining Flames array, 16 demon emperors were controlling the Great Formation array from all directions. Seeing the Peng Demon Emperor and his brothers coming out, the 16 demon emperors all bowed. Your Majesty. The Peng Demon Emperor slightly nodded. Listen, that Qin Yu Immortal Mansion is within the Sealing Element Refining Flames array. You all should first burn everything within the sealing element refining flames array. After that, I'll slowly deal with the Qingyu Immortal Mansion. The Peng Demon Emperor ordered the 16 Demon Emperors. Yes, Your Majesty. The 16 Demon Emperors immediately started to form hand seals. The Peng Demon Emperor took a glance. At this moment, he was using the blue heavenly flame to burn the mountain rocks and so on. Only when things that were hard to refine would he use the extremely silent heavenly flame to refine them. The Peng Demon Emperor turned around and looked. He then flew toward a plain below the Yellow Lion Mountain. Lu Tu and Aoku also followed him. The Peng Demon Emperor and his brothers landed on the ground. The Peng Demon Emperor casually sat down cross-legged. The two of you also sit down. My demon awareness has covered that sealing element refining flames array. If anything happens, I'll know about it. Thank you, Your Majesty. Lu Tu and Aoku also sat down cross-legged. Your Majesty, there's something that this subordinate doesn't know if he should say or not. Aoku said in a low voice. Speak, said the Peng Demon Emperor indifferently. Aoku nodded. Your Majesty, even if that Kuro were to continue to train, Your Majesty possesses the inherited treasure. How could that Kuro possibly catch up to Your Majesty? There's no need for Your Majesty to work so hard. Even if you were to spare his life, it would still be nothing. Short-sighted, said the Peng Demon Emperor with a light smile. Lu Tu, Aoku. Back then, Feng Chong and I had competed for the position of Peng Demon Emperor. The two of you should know about what had happened, right? That Lu Tu nodded and said. Back then, that Feng Chong and Your Majesty were both super divine beasts. They were both level 7 demon emperors. One was the golden-winged Peng King, and the other was the dark lightning Peng King. As they were both super divine beasts of the Peng clan, this subordinate naturally remembers clearly about that competition for the position of emperor. I admit that in terms of strength, I was a bit inferior to that Feng Chong. Although the dark lightning Peng King and the golden-winged Peng King were both super divine beasts, the dark lightning Peng King was not only fast, it also possessed some strange abilities. Back then, my chances of obtaining the position of emperor was not great. Lu Tu, Feng Chong had married a woman from your clan. Do you still remember that? Said the Peng Demon Emperor with a smile. Lu Tu nodded. That woman can be considered a weirdo in my Eagle clan. Her original form is just an ordinary Eagle clan member, not even a divine beast, but her cultivation speed is comparable to a high divine beast. Lu Tu was currently the patriarch of the Eagle clan, and his true form was the strongest high-level divine beast of the Eagle clan, the Blue Flame Eagle. The Peng Demon Emperor nodded. That Feng Chong was originally also an ambitious and ruthless character. I have competed with him my entire life. In the past he was as cold and ruthless as I was. However, who would have thought that a character like him would actually fall in love with a woman from your Eagle clan? I merely used a little trick and managed to seriously injure Feng Chong. In the end, he even lost his life to me. Feng Chong lost to His Majesty because his temperament wasn't cultivated enough. Lu Tu complimented. The Peng Demon Emperor nodded. In one's life, how could one be restricted by others? If I want to kill, then I'll kill. If I want to defy the heavens, then I'll defy the heavens. Only by doing this would I be able to be happy. The Peng Demon Emperor had a trace of arrogance in his eyes. I, Zhongyan, am someone who fears neither heaven nor earth. However, who would have thought that when Feng Chong was seriously injured, he risked his life to break open the space and create a tunnel between the immortal, devil and demon realm and the mortal realm. That little bastard actually caused me to be worried and afraid. Although he said that he was afraid, the Peng Demon Emperor's expression did not change. From Zhongju, I came to know that the child of the Dark Lightning Rock King and an Eagle clan member that isn't even a divine beast was actually this frightening. Not only is his speed comparable to mine, he also possesses all of the remarkable abilities of the Dark Lightning Rock King. At the same time, the Eagle clan's defense is generally pretty good. However, this Kuroa's defense is even more frightening. He's simply a perfect variation super divine beast. Merely this is not enough to cause me to be afraid. What caused me to be worried the most was his cultivation speed. He has only trained for a few years, And now he's already a level 5 demon emperor. I have never heard of a bird clan having such a frightening cultivation speed. The Pung Demon King sneered and said, "This little bastard is unable to threaten me in the immortal devil and demon realm. However, if I were to let him be, then with his cultivation speed, it's very possible for him to surpass me in the divine realm. Aoku, tell me, would I allow him to continue living?" Aoku came to a realization. This subordinate's vision is indeed shallow. I have not thought about what would happen after entering the divine realm. Aoku and the other demon emperors were mostly worried about the divine tribulation. They did not have the confidence to pass through the divine tribulation. Who would think about what would happen after ascending to the divine realm? However, the Pung Demon Emperor who possessed the inherited treasure and was able to easily pass through the divine tribulation had already thought about the future. When Zhongju talked about this Kuro, I'm almost completely certain that he's Feng Chang's bastard. His true form is an eagle. How could the Eagle clan have such a powerful divine beast? Furthermore, he even knows many of the remarkable abilities of the super divine beasts of the Pung clan. His father is not Feng Chong. How could he possibly possess the remarkable abilities of the Pung clan? Feng Chong should be extremely proud to have such a son. Unfortunately today, his son will also die. As the Pung Demon Emperor said that, he raised his head and looked to the sky. He ought to have almost completely refined by now. Inside the Jianglan's realm, Qinyu, Hou Fei and Kuro were together. Xiaohei, don't be too sad. Qinyu and Hou Fei both looked to Kuro. Earlier, the conversation between the Pung Demon Emperor, Lu Tu and Aoku was something that Qinyu, as the master of the Jianglan's realm, was able to hear the outside world. Thus he naturally heard it. When he heard about Kuro's origin, Qinyu, with merely an intention, caused the voices of the Pung Demon Emperor and them to sound in the surroundings of the three brothers. So my father and mother are both dead. Kuro's eyes were a bit moist. Mixed hair bird, I'm about the same as you. Even now, I still don't know who my father is. Hou Fei comforted him. Xiaohei, don't be sad. Qinyu started to laugh. He changed the topic and said, "Sai, never did I expect that the plan that I thought of on the spot would actually succeed. Xiaohei Fei, in the future, we do not have to hide in the Jianglan's realm the entire time." "What's wrong?" Hou Fei looked to Qinyu. Kuro also looked to Qinyu with tears in his eyes. Qinyu explained, "I knew that the Pung Demon Emperor would think that the Jianglan's realm would be hidden somewhere where I landed. However, he never expected that. At the first time when I collided head-on with Aoku, the Jianglan's realm had turned into a speck of dust and attached itself to his clothes. With how exceptional the Jianglan's realm was, even if Aoku were to use his demon awareness to investigate, he would still not be able to discover this tiny speck. Right now they're outside of the sealing element refining flames array. They've just finished their discussion. I reckon they'll be flying up soon. Let's go up," said the Pung Demon Emperor indifferently. Aoku and Lu Tu accepted the order. The three of them rapidly flew toward the sky. None of them discovered that when they were flying toward the sky, a speck of dust had separated from Aoku's body and fell onto the ground, merging with the plane and becoming one of the countless specks of sand on the plane. Chapter 416. The 16 demon emperors were floating in their respective positions. At the same time, they were controlling the extremely silent heavenly flames to burn that final lump of liquid. As for the Pung Demon Emperor Zhong Yan, Lu Tu and Aoku, they directly arrived in the sky above the sealing element refining flames array. "Your Majesty," seeing that it was the Pung Demon Emperor, the 16 demon emperors immediately greeted him respectfully. Never had I expected that after refining this small half of the Yellow Lion Mountain, there would actually be materials that could be used to refine top-quality demon artifacts, said the Pung Demon Emperor Zhong Yan with a light smile. At this moment, his mood was extremely good. "Lu Tu, Aoku, are the two of you able to discover that Qingyu Immortal Mansion?" Aoku and Lu Tu both spread out their demon awareness and permeated it. They covered that lump of liquid that was being burned by the extremely silent heavenly flames. After a long while, Aoku and Lu Tu were still carefully inspecting that lump of liquid. "Let me do it," said the Pung Demon Emperor indifferently. "Your subordinates are incompetent," said Aoku and Lu Tu respectfully. That Qingyu must have definitely turned that Qingyu Immortal Mansion into a water droplet. Unfortunately, no matter how much he tried to imitate it, it would still be fake. There would definitely be loopholes. The Pung Demon Emperor also spread out his demon awareness. It turned into layers upon layers of waves, and instantly covered that lump of liquid. It was extremely difficult to distinguish every single droplet from the liquid. Aoku and Lu Tu also did not dare to disturb them. Below, at the place where the Pung Demon Emperor and his two brothers were originally resting, a figure suddenly appeared. It was precisely Qingyu, who had changed his appearance. Qingyu raised his head and took a glance. He had a smile on his face. "Pung Demon Emperor, slowly search for me. If you're able to find me, then I would truly admire you." In merely a blink of an eye, Qingyu's figure disappeared from the plane. Teleportation. Amen. Aoku turned his head around and looked down. "What's wrong?" asked Lu Tu beside him. At the same time, he also turned his head around and looked down. The plane was exactly the same as before. There was nothing there. "What are you looking at?" "Nothing." Aoku turned his head around and smiled to Lu Tu beside him. "My head was dizzy earlier." Just now, Aoku had actually felt a very slight energy fluctuation. That fluctuation had disappeared in the blink of an eye. Aoku had thought that it was just his imagination. Lu Tu smiled and said, "Let's wait for your majesty to find the Qingyu Immortal Mansion. After dealing with Qingyu and the others, we will have nothing to do in the future." "That's right." Aoku also sighed. With their status, why would the Bird Clan bother them with anything? Unfortunately, Aoku and Lu Tu had no idea that Qingyu had already arrived at the interstellar teleportation formation on planet Black Crow. He had easily used the interstellar teleportation formation to flee. As for the Pung Demon Emperor Zhong Yan, he was still unresigned in his exploration. Never had I expected that this Qinyu's ability to conceal himself would be this strong. The Pung Demon Emperor no longer had a smile on his face. After such a long time without finding the Qingyu Immortal Mansion, he was a little angry. "I don't believe it." The Pung Demon Emperor's eyes were ice cold. His demon awareness had turned into hundreds of millions of portions. Each and every portion of his demon awareness had wrapped around a droplet of water. The Pung Demon Emperor was carefully observing the difference between each and every portion. Unfortunately, no matter how hard he tried, he was still unable to discover anything. A full 2 hours. The Pung Demon Emperor had no choice but to admit that he had failed. Even someone as conceited as him was unable to continue on. "All of you, use your demon awareness to search. Find out exactly where the Qingyu Immortal Mansion is hidden," said the Pung Demon Emperor Zhong Yin coldly. His gaze swept past the 16 demon emperors, as well as Lu Tu and Aoku. "Whoever is able to find the Qingyu Immortal Mansion, I will definitely reward them greatly." "Yes, your majesty." Immediately the 16 demon emperors Aoku and Lu Tu, a total of 18 people, began to carefully search. The result was self-evident, they had still failed. "Your majesty, this subordinate has a method." Suddenly, a demon emperor said respectfully, "Speak." The Pung Demon Emperor's eyes shined. That demon emperor said respectfully, "We merely need to control the extremely silent heavenly flame to burn it, and leave it at other times. That liquid would turn into a solid one moment, and then into a liquid the next. I reckon that no matter how strong the Qingyu Immortal Mansion's transformation ability is, it would still have some flaws. This method was exactly the same as when Emperor Yu used the sealing element refining flames array to find Qingyu in that lump of liquid." "Good." Once the Pung Demon Emperor heard that, he felt that it was feasible. "You arrange everyone. Quickly, find Qinyu's Immortal Mansion for me." "Yes, your majesty." A trace of joy appeared in that demon emperor's eyes. He then hurriedly arranged everyone. In one moment, the extremely silent heavenly flame would burn it, and in another moment, the extremely silent heavenly flame would be removed. That lump of liquid would condense, and in another moment melt. All the demon emperors were carefully inspecting it. Failure. Failure. Still failure. For a total of 6 hours, the Peng Demon Emperor and his subordinates had used many different methods. The Peng Demon Emperor had even personally entered the sealing element refining flames array to refine that lump of liquid into a top-quality demon artifact, and then dripped his blood on it to become its master. After becoming its master, the Peng Demon Emperor had also carefully inspected it. However, he was still unable to do it. In the end, after the Peng Demon Emperor removed the blood contract with that demon artifact, he directly used his own Peng Claw to crush that top-quality demon artifact. In the end, the Peng Demon Emperor had no choice but to admit that the Qingyu Immortal Mansion had most likely already left the sealing element refining flames array. The Peng Demon Emperor did not believe that the Qingyu Immortal Mansion would still be undetectable with all those methods. How exactly did that Qingyu escape? This question had vexed the Peng Demon Emperor for a very long time. At the time when the Peng Demon Emperor finally gave up on searching for the Qingyu Immortal Mansion, Qingyu had already left the star field, where the Black Crow star was located. With astonishing speed, he was unceasingly rushing toward the northeast region of the Bird Clan. Occasionally, he would use interstellar conveying arrays, and occasionally, he would use greater teleportation. In merely 3 days, Qingyu had arrived at a star field in the northeast region of the Bird Clan, the Cyan Flame Star Field. The Cyan Flame Star Field was located at the extreme northern region of the Immortal, Devil and Demon Realm. To its east was the most chaotic region of the Bird Clan, the Chaotic Star Field. Further to the east was the legendary Bewitching God Temple. The Bewitching God Temple was located between the Bird Clan and the Dark Star Realm. The Chaotic Star Field was truly chaotic. It was so chaotic that even the current Qingyu did not want to go there. Thus, he chose the relatively peaceful Cyan Flame Star Field. The Cyan Flame Star Field was the headquarters of the Eagle Clan. The Eagle Clan was an extremely powerful clan within the Bird Clan. In terms of clan strength, they were second only to the Peng Clan. The current clan chief of the Eagle Clan was the level 8 Demon Emperor Lu Tuesday. He was also one of the 3 great experts under the Peng Demon Emperor. Of course, now that Bai Feng had died, the subordinates under the Peng Demon Emperor were led by Aoku and Lu Tuesday Cyan Flame Star Field, Flowing Mist Star. In the vast sky above the Flowing Mist Star, a man was standing in the sky. He was overlooking the heaven and earth and sweeping his gaze all around. A very beautiful and peaceful planet. Qingyu had a slight smile on his face. Amen, that's the one. Let's choose this planet as the place where we brothers will live in the future. After that, Qingyu directly landed on the ground. With an intention, Ho Fei Kuro, Bai Ling and Hei Tong all appeared on the ground. Big brother, where is this? It looks pretty, said Ho Fei while smiling. Qingyu nodded and said, "This is the Cyan Flame Star Field's Flowing Mist Star Field. The Flowing Mist Star is located at the edge of the Cyan Flame Star Field. According to the introduction on the interstellar map that Big Brother Wuming gave me, this planet is a very ordinary planet. It's about the same as the Maple Moon star that I was on back then. The strongest people here are likely only level 7 or 8 demon kings. Big brother, are you planning to choose this place as the place where we brothers will live in the future?" Kuro was wearing a white gown. His long hair was fluttering in the wind. He also gave off an elegant feeling. Qingyu nodded. He then looked to Hei Tong. "There's nothing wrong with us 3 brothers. It's just that little Tong cannot always be with us, and cannot enter the city. Thus, I have decided to choose this place as the place where we will live in the future." "Ah!" Hei Tong's eyes shined. "Eldest uncle, I can really go out and play now? Don't worry, we cannot blindly step into the interior of this planet. Who knows if there are people from the Peng Demon Emperor on this planet?" said Qingyu with a light smile. Bai Ling said, "Big brother, although the Peng Demon Emperor's power is vast, his troops are only stationed on some of the major planets and important planets. For a small planet like the Flowing Mist Star, there are relatively few outsiders. Most of them are merely passing by through the conveying arrays. I know that. That's why I chose this ordinary planet." Qingyu nodded. "However, it's better to be safe than sorry." Soon after, 6 figures suddenly appeared on the ground. Of these 6 people, one was a level 4 demon emperor Dong Shui. As for the other 5, 2 were level 9 demon kings, and 3 were level 8 demon kings. They were all spiritual beasts of the 10,000 Beasts Atlas. "We pay our respects to Master," said Dong Shui, and the other 5 respectfully. "Big brother, what are you doing?" Ho Fei, Kuro and them were all confused. Qin Yu, however, did not answer them. Instead, he directly said to Dong Shui, "Dong Shui, this planet is the Flowing Mist Star, a very ordinary planet. The strongest people on this planet are only level 7 or 8 demon kings. I order you all to completely control this planet within 100 years. Master's intention is?" Dong Shui asked in confusion. Qin Yu lightly smiled and said, "It's very simple. Completely control this planet. From every corner, I want the majority of the people on the Flowing Mist Star to be under our control. Even if an outsider were to step onto the Flowing Mist Star, you must know that it's enough to do this." "Local emperors," Ho Fei laughed. "Big brother's intention is for us to become the local emperors of this planet? Not us, it's Dong Shui." Qin Yu lightly smiled and said, "Even Dong Shui is the controller behind the scenes. On the surface, she has these 5 demon kings go out and have them control the entire Flowing Mist Star. As for the matters that are difficult for them to handle, Dong Shui will then act. Master, for a planet like this, a single year would be sufficient for the 6 of us," said Dong Shui confidently. For a planet like the Flowing Mist Star, a level 4 demon emperor Dong Shui would naturally be able to easily capture it. Even if she wanted to completely control it, a single year would be sufficient. "Eldest uncle, you're having them control the Flowing Mist Star. What about us?" asked He Tong confusedly. Qin Yu smiled and said, "You ought to know that your father, your second uncle, and even your mother's identities cannot be revealed. For this sort of thing, there is no need for us to personally go out. We merely need to hide in the darkest place and not let anyone know." The eyes of Ho Fei, Kuro and them all shined. They completely understood what Qin Yu meant. Qin Yu's gaze turned sharp. He stared at Dong Shui. "Dong Shui, I'll give you 100 years. After 100 years, I want you to be able to, even if the Peng Demon Emperor were to send a single person to the Flowing Mist Star, you must be able to obtain information about him the moment he arrives. Although the bird clan belongs to the Peng Demon Emperor, I want this Flowing Mist Star to be completely under our control. Once the Peng Demon Emperor's people arrive here, they would become blind. Even if they were able to see, what they see would be a show for them to see. Dong Shui, are you able to accomplish that?" Qin Yu looked to Dong Shui. Dong Shui said confidently, "Master, please rest assured. 100 years? This subordinate is definitely able to accomplish that. Xiao Hei Bai Ling, do you still remember the matter that I told you too?" Qin Yu smiled and said. Kuro and Bai Ling both nodded. Kuro stroked his daughter's head. "Big brother, you're right. It's time for this child to see the world. Father, mother, eldest uncle, you all." He Tong's face was filled with confusion. Qin Yu looked to Dong Shui. "Dong Shui, I'll leave little Tong to you to take care of. In this 100 years' time, you'll have little Tong live on the Flowing Mist Star. You will appear as her master, Peng Demon Emperor, and them also do not know of little Tong's existence. She will not be in any danger." "Yes, master," said Dong Shui respectfully. "Father, mother, eldest uncle, second uncle, could it be that you all are not going to stay on the Flowing Mist Star together?" At this moment, He Tong woke up. "Not for the time being. This place is still not safe enough," said Qin Yu with a light smile. "Stay on the Flowing Mist Star? At the very least, it was impossible right now." Qin Yu already had a plan in his heart. He planned to spend 100 years in the outer space to comprehend the universe. As for the next step of the stellar transformation, Qin Yu truly wanted to comprehend it thoroughly. Compared to the 9 steps dark gold body, Qin Yu cared more about his stellar transformation. Chapter 417. His soul had completely fused with the universe. As he felt the pulse of the universe, Qin Yu's soul aura became more and more faint. In the end, it was as if it didn't exist. The blazing star was a boiling large fireball. Streams of flames were erupting from this fireball. There were even streams of flames that rushed into the meteorites. Another group of meteorites were flying over from another direction. They passed by the group of meteorites that Qinyu was in. Qinyu was looking with his eyes and sensing with his soul. Gradually, what he saw with his eyes and what he sensed with his soul started to fuse together. Sitting cross-legged on the meteorite, Qinyu's 9 steps dark gold body's speed was raised to the limit. Those 27,000 seal marks and patterns were flickering with a blue light. Qinyu's bones and muscles were transforming unceasingly. The cells within his bones and muscles were also transforming unceasingly. Even if his bones and muscles were to break apart at such a rapid speed, the life elemental energy within Qinyu's body would automatically repair them. To train without any worries like this, there was no one in the dinosaur clan that could do this. In a blink of an eye, several tens of years had passed. Qinyu had separated himself from the fusion with the universe. A light smile appeared on his face. Several tens of years is merely the blink of an eye. Although the stellar transformations martial technique that Master created was only able to reach the Dujia stage, but the stellar transformations was a martial technique that could evolve the universe. It was the true great Tao. Its profoundness greatly surpassed the various martial techniques of the immortals, devils and demons. The more he comprehended, the clearer Qinyu felt it in his heart. Fei, Xiaohei and them's cultivation speed is pretty fast. I'll continue to comprehend. Qinyu restrained the distracting thoughts in his mind. He once again fused his soul with the universe. He was in a faintly discernible and mysterious state, inside the Jianglan's realm. Several tens of years in the outside world meant that several hundred years had passed in the Jianglan's realm. Hofei, Kuro and them had all increased their strength by quite a bit. A body covered with silver fur, golden eyes and purple lips. Hofei held the black stick in his hand. He was excitedly cawing and then roaring. Mixed hair bird, take this. Like a long black dragon, the black stick tore through the vast sky and directly arrived before Kuro. Petty tricks. Kuro sneered. His figure changed at an extremely fast speed. 9 afterimages appeared in a row and easily dodged this move. At the same time, a black spear suddenly appeared in his right hand. The spear was like a snake as it suddenly shot out. The black staff and the black spear only lightly touched each other before separating. It was a lightning-fast exchange of blows. Hofei's staff technique and Kuro's spear technique both displayed their subtleties. The two of them did not rely on their strength, but rather on the subtlety of their techniques. The black staff and the black spear appeared and disappeared from time to time during the piercing process. Sometimes it seemed as if they were hidden in space. It was very strange. Big brother, you second brother, let's rest for a while. Bai Ling smiled as she walked out from the courtyard. The 2 afterimages fell to the ground separately, and the figures gradually became clear. Hofei's golden armor was filled with fighting spirit. As for Kuro, he was wearing white clothes and gave off a desolate feeling. I am mixed hair bird. I never expected that your spear technique would also improve greatly after reaching level 6 Demon Emperor. You're almost on par with my heaven-startling 9 stick strikes. However, I still haven't used my 8th and 9th stick strike yet. Once I use them, you'll undoubtedly lose. Hofei said confidently. Kuro lightly smiled. You've completely comprehended the heaven-startling 9 stick strikes? It's already been several hundred years. You've already reached level 6 Demon Emperor from level 5 Demon Emperor. Although I've yet to reach level 7 Demon Emperor, I've more or less comprehended the heaven-startling 9 stick strikes. It's just that there's a slight problem with the final 9th stick strike. Hofei's face did not turn red. Just watch. I'm about to reach level 7 Demon Emperor. Kuro did not say anything. He merely put away his spear and sat down on a stone chair to rest. Bai Ling was sitting beside him. Hofei also put away his black stick and sat beside Bai Ling Monkey. Big brother said that he'll be in the outside world for 100 years. Is it really 100 years? If during the 100 years, Big brother happens to be at a crucial moment, how could we possibly disturb him? Kuro frowned and asked. However, if that's the case, Then when should we go and wake Big Brother up? Ho Fei laughed mischievously. That's simple. Why would we need to wake Big Brother up? When Big Brother feels that it's about time, he'll naturally come and let us out. Ho Fei was not worried. Kuro also nodded. Bai Ling, who stood to the side, said somewhat anxiously, if Big Brother is comprehending the heaven-startling 9-stick strikes the entire time, are we to stay in the Jianglan's realm the entire time? It's already been a long time since I've seen Little Tong. I truly wish to see her sooner. Linger. Kuro frowned and reprimanded. So what if you see Little Tong later? Big Brother's cultivation is the most important. Oh. Bai Ling could only answer. Peaceful days continued to pass. Inside Wu Lan's residence in the Jianglan's realm. Boss Wu Lan, Boss Wu Lan. That voice that sounded like the roar of the heavens and earth suddenly sounded, waking up Wu Lan, who was resting in his room. Wu Lan helplessly walked out of his residence. Seeing Yi Chu, who was running over excitedly from afar, he smiled helplessly and said, Yi Chu, why are you shouting so loudly? Yi Chu had a complacent expression. Boss Wu Lan, look. Look at what? Wu Lan was puzzled. Look carefully. Yi Chu's face was filled with smiles. See if there's any change in me? Wu Lan looked at him in confusion for a moment. He then smiled. Oh, you've finally broken through. Yi Chu pounded his chest with his fist and said happily. That's right. After all these years, I've finally broken through. Haha, that ice-cold Ao Wushu was the first to reach level 8 Demon Emperor. He would often act arrogant in front of me. This time, let's see if he still dares to act arrogantly. Actually, Ao Wushu was not arrogant. It's just that his ice-cold attitude naturally caused others to feel that he was arrogant. Haha, level 8 Demon Emperor. Ming Yu and Wushu must train faster. With Qin Yu's current cultivation speed, I'm afraid that he'll undergo the divine tribulation and ascend to the divine realm before you. If that's really the case, I'm afraid that we'll have to separate. Wu Lan instructed. Boss Wu Lan, what do you mean? Yi Chu also calmed down. Wu Lan said solemnly. When Qin Yu ascends to the divine realm, if you and Ao Wushu have not passed the divine tribulation, then the two of you will not be able to ascend together with Qin Yu and me. You'll only be expelled from the divine realm. This is the rule of the universe. It's like how one must reach the Desheng stage to ascend from the mortal realm to the immortal, devil, and demon realm. For example, Qin Yu, even if he were to bring people and place them in the Qin Yu immortal mansion, they would still be expelled from the immortal, devil, and demon realm. Although the Jianglan's realm is exceptional, it's merely a space within a spatial divine artifact, and not a true space. Wu Lan said carefully. True space. Yi Chu was a bit confused. Wu Lan nodded and said with a smile. A true space naturally possesses spiritual energy, elemental spirit energy, and so on. It also possesses life and so on. As for the Jianglan's realm, it is a space within a spatial divine artifact. The elemental spirit energy within it is also absorbed from the outside world. It is unable to produce energy by itself. Oh, boss, Wushu and I must pass the divine tribulation in order to ascend to the divine realm. What about you? Yi Chu had some guesses in his heart. Wu Lan smiled indifferently. I am originally from the divine realm. Returning to the divine realm is very natural. Even if I do not train right now and do not have the slightest bit of progress, I will still be able to ascend to the divine realm. At that time, I will still be able to stay in the Jianglan's realm and return to the divine realm with Qin Yu. However, you all cannot. Amen. That Qin Yu's cultivation speed is too fast. It would be good if he was slower. Yi Chu smacked his lips and said helplessly, although I have reached level 8 Demon Emperor, it is extremely difficult to go from level 8 Demon Emperor to level 9 Demon Emperor. Wu Lan merely smiled indifferently. Yi Chu and them might have pressure, but he Wu Lan did not. Inside the Black Crow City's Imperial Palace, Peng Demon Emperor Zhong Yan and the two level 8 Demon Emperors Lu Tu and Ao Ku were sitting around a table. Lu Tu, it's already been 80 years. In this period of time, have you discovered any news regarding Kuro and them? Said Peng Demon Emperor Zhong Yan indifferently. After all these years, Peng Demon Emperor Zhong Yan did not have much hope in being able to capture Kuro. Lu Tu said respectfully with a slightly helpless tone. No news at all. Your Majesty, Aoku interrupted. If this Kuro and them were to continue to hide in the Qingyu Immortal Mansion and not come out, then no matter how hard we search, it would be impossible for us to find them. Peng Demon Emperor Zhongyin nodded. How could he not understand this logic? However, he truly wanted to kill Kuro. Amen. Peng Demon Emperor suddenly frowned. He flipped his hand and took out a transmission spiritual pearl. Gradually, a smile appeared on the Peng Demon Emperor's face. Lu Tu and Aoku glanced at each other. Their eyes were filled with amazement. In the past, the matters of the Bird clan were usually handled by Bai Feng. However now, it was usually handled by Lu Tuesday. Only an extremely small amount of matters would be reported to the Peng Demon Emperor. Yet now the Peng Demon Emperor actually had a smile on his face. This was truly a rare occurrence. After a moment, the Peng Demon Emperor put away his transmission spiritual pearl with a smile on his face. Your Majesty, it seems like there's a happy occasion, said Lu Tu with a smile. Aoku also looked to the Peng Demon Emperor. The Peng Demon Emperor smiled and said, It's not a happy occasion. It's just that the Immortal Realm's Emperor Yu and his wife, the Mystic Emperor, had a conversation with me earlier. They wanted to chase after that Qingyu, and I wanted to take care of that Kuro. Thus we were merely helping each other. When your Majesty chased after Kuro, he had always said that he was Kuro. Outsiders do not know of Kuro's true name. How did this Emperor Yu know of it? Lu Tu asked in confusion. Bai Feng was killed by Qingyu. Although not many people knew of this news, Emperor Yu and the Mystic Emperor possessed pretty good power. I reckon that they had obtained this news from somewhere, said the Peng Demon Emperor with a light smile. Chapter 418. In the boundless cosmos, numerous stars were stopped in the outer space. This group of meteorites was rapidly flowing through the stars. On the largest meteorite in the center of this group of meteorites, there was a figure sitting cross-legged motionlessly. It was unknown how long he had been sitting there like this. It was also unknown when he would stand up. Traces of green light were slowly being emitted from Qinyu's head. The corners of Qinyu's mouth were slightly raised. He had a smile on his face. His eyes had been open the entire time. He was calmly looking at the meteorites. Suddenly, Qinyu stood up. He stood proudly on top of this meteorite that was flying at an extremely fast speed. It's been 90 years. This time around, I've been in seclusion training for 90 years. Qinyu's heart was very tranquil. He felt as if his state of mind was slowly fluctuating along with the pulse of the entire cosmos. That was a wonderful feeling. However, Qinyu knew that, in these 90 years, he had allowed his soul to become even more assimilated with the cosmos. His state of mind had become even closer to the fluctuations of the cosmos. After 90 years of training, Qinyu's soul's level had naturally reached the level 9 Immortal Emperor level. His third-layer heavenly soul was only a step away from reaching the perfection stage. Qinyu did not care about the increase in his soul's level. After all, he still needed to rely on his own strength in battle. In the last several hundred years in the Jianglan's realm, Qinyu had been stuck at the 6th stage of the 9 steps dark gold body the entire time. And now, he had finally reached the 7th stage. The 9 steps force had also turned from blue to purple. Currently, Qinyu's bones and muscles were comparable to low-quality divine artifacts. Adding on the assistance of his life elemental energy, he could be considered to be a divine artifact that could be repaired at any time. There was no need to mention how powerful he was. Unfortunately, there's not much progress in this stellar transformations martial technique. Qinyu suddenly sighed. All these years of comprehension, Qinyu had actually been trying to create the 9th stage of the stellar transformations. However, creating a new stage was not that simple. Qinyu stood on top of the meteorite and casually looked at the boundless cosmos. Suddenly, a huge cluster of gorgeous nebula appeared in Qinyu's field of vision. This cluster of nebula emitted a dreamy light and was very attractive. Qinyu was obviously attracted by this cluster of nebula. The nebula was very large. It was comparable to the size of thousands of stars. Every part of this vast nebula was operating quietly. The trajectories seemed to have no pattern. But Qinyu, who had just woken up from the brilliance of the nebula, noticed them. Seeing these trajectories, Qinyu's heart seemed to be stirred. His mind, which had been calm for 90 years, was shaken. At this moment, like a bolt of lightning, it lit up in Qinyu's mind. Qinyu was suddenly enlightened. I see. Qinyu smiled. He closed his eyes and slowly raised his hands. Qinyu's hands moved very slowly. But when Qinyu's hands moved, the entire space seemed to shake. The light around Qinyu seemed to distort. Qinyu's hands stopped moving. His hands seemed to be hugging an empty sphere that was placed in front of him. Qinyu smiled and closed his eyes. He seemed to be enjoying a wonderful feeling. The moment Qinyu's hands stopped moving, dozens of meteorites that were flying at high speeds suddenly stopped. From moving at high speeds to being still, it happened in an instant. These dozens of meteorites were all suspended in space, motionless. Qinyu's arms unconsciously trembled. With Qinyu as the center, the entire space produced visible spatial ripples. The dozens of suspended meteorites suddenly moved. These dozens of meteorites, with the meteorite Qinyu was standing on as the center, began to rotate. There were meteorites above Qinyu. There were meteorites to the left of Qinyu. There were meteorites in front of Qinyu. And there were meteorites below Qinyu. It was a sphere, and Qinyu was the center of the sphere. The dozens of meteorites continued to rotate. These meteorites sometimes rotated up, sometimes down. Their trajectories were not circular. They were not even elliptical. The trajectories were simple and seemed to have no pattern. But, if there were experts present, they would discover that the trajectories of these meteorites were very similar to the trajectories of the distant illusory nebula. It was just that each meteorite represented a large mass of energy within the nebula. These dozens of meteorites continued to rotate. The nebula in the distance also continued to rotate. The trajectories were the same. The only difference was the size. However, in the other space that the black hole in Qinyu's dantian led to, in the 2 to 3 meter long and wide space that belonged to Qinyu, the thick golden black hole's energy also started to slowly move. Although it was slow, it still started to move. Time passed. These dozens of meteorites maintained their current state. It had been 12 years. Qinyu raised his hands, as if he was hugging a ball. After maintaining this posture for 12 years, his eyes suddenly opened. At the moment when Qinyu opened his eyes, the dozens of meteorites that had formed a huge sphere suddenly stopped. Haha, after 100 years of comprehension, I've finally comprehended something. So that's how it is. Qinyu's face was full of smiles. It was a very confident smile. He placed his hands behind his back, and stood with his hands behind his back. His footsteps remained on the largest meteorite. I've broken my promise. I said 100 years, but it has already reached 102 years. Qinyu laughed at himself. After that, Qinyu looked at the dozens of meteorites that were still in the sky. With a casual wave of his hand, the dozens of meteorites immediately continued to move forward along their original trajectories. As for Qinyu himself, he stood in the sky. After a while, he used the greater teleportation and disappeared into space. In an instant, Qinyu appeared on an uninhabited planet. My soul realm has now reached level 9 Immortal Emperor realm. With the assistance of Lu Xing's tear, who can compare to me in terms of compatibility with the universe? With my current greater teleportation, I don't really need to use the interstellar teleportation array anymore. Qinyu immediately disappeared again. Currently, Qinyu's greater teleportation distance was about 10 times further than before. In the past, it was already very powerful to teleport a tenth of a galaxy. Now, Qinyu could almost cross an entire galaxy. There was no need for an interstellar teleportation array. Even if he wanted to go from one galaxy to another, Qinyu could rely on his own strength to directly teleport. Only when the distance between one galaxy and another galaxy was too far, Qinyu would need to rely on the interstellar teleportation array. The 8th realm is the black hole realm. What exactly is the 9th realm? I don't have to worry about it. I'll just follow the situation and evolve naturally. Qingyu felt relaxed. Within Qingyu's Dantian space, the current black hole was different from the past. The current black hole did not have the three obvious golden halos. The black hole had already turned into a faint golden tunnel. At the other end of the tunnel, within the flower paste space, the space that was originally 2 to 3 meters in length, width and height belonged to Qinyu. Now the area that belonged to Qinyu had already reached about 10 meters in length, width and height. At the same time, this space was slowly expanding at an undetectable speed. In this flower paste space, this small space that belongs to me shall be called the stellar space. Qinyu thought to himself. Within the stellar space, the golden black hole's power, that had been stagnant and accumulated in the past, had undergone a tremendous change. Now there was a mass of huge nebula that was similar to the one that Qinyu had seen before that was constantly revolving. As for the golden black hole's power of the past, it was constantly revolving and gathering together. It had already turned into golden granules. When Qinyu's consciousness entered the stellar space, he discovered that countless golden particles were slowly and methodically moving according to a wonderful trajectory, forming a nebulous sphere. If one looked carefully, they would discover that outside the stellar space, there were strands of chaotic flower paste energy that were flying in through the membrane. The golden black hole's power had to absorb the flower paste energy in order to form a golden granule. Those countless golden granules relied on the flower paste energy to slowly transform into golden granules. The more flower paste energy was absorbed from the outside world, the more empty the flower paste space would be, and the larger the stellar space would naturally expand. This flower paste space is indeed marvelous. What exactly is that flower paste energy? Qinyu thought to himself, then laughed. Within this flower paste space, the flower paste energy covers the heavens and the earth. It is endless, and it is everywhere. My astral space can only take up a larger area if it absorbs more energy. Qinyu didn't completely understand. However, his intuition told him that the flower paste energy was good stuff, and he had to absorb it continuously. The larger his stellar space was, the better. Now, Qinyu was still slowly absorbing the flower paste energy, causing the golden granules to form a spherical nebula in his body to increase. Qinyu also understood that he was just preparing to accumulate power, and he hadn't reached the threshold of the 9th realm yet. Green flame star area, flowing mist star. Flowing mist star is still as beautiful and tranquil as before. Qinyu appeared in flowing mist star. With a few steps, he arrived at the largest city of the 3 major cities of flowing mist star, Vastu City. The gate of Vastu City was wide. When the gatekeeper saw Qinyu walking over, he had a feeling of difficulty breathing. He didn't even dare to go forward and ask, "Who is this person?" "No, I must inform Lord immediately." The gatekeeper looked at Qinyu's back and made a decision in his heart. There were a lot of cultivators in Vastu City. However, most of them were level 1 heavenly demons. Demon King experts were extremely rare. At least, the strongest person that Qinyu encountered along the way was only a level 1 Demon King. This was the only Demon King that he saw. From this, it could be seen that there were very few experts on flowing mist star. "Master." Dong Shue's figure suddenly appeared beside him. She transmitted her voice to Qinyu respectfully. Qinyu glanced at Dong Shue and nodded slightly. "Have you completed the task I gave you?" "Yes. Now, the entire flowing mist star is under our control. No one who enters flowing mist star can escape our surveillance," Dong Shue said respectfully. Qinyu nodded indifferently. "All right, take me to your current place." "Yes." Dong Shue then transformed into a stream of light and shot into the sky. Qinyu followed behind Dong Shue casually. In the blink of an eye, Qinyu and Dong Shue arrived in front of a palace in the extreme north of Vastfan City, another city on flowing mist star. "Master, this is our current residence," said Dong Shue respectfully. Qinyu slowly raised his head. His gaze swept past those 3 large words. He muttered, "Five Willows Palace, why did you name it this way?" "Master, to the outside world, it's only said that 5 demon kings had built a palace here. The masters of this palace are these 5 demon kings. Those 5 demon kings are the 5 spiritual beasts that Master dispatched. 2 are level 9 demon kings and 3 are level 8 demon kings. This subordinate merely hides behind the scenes," said Dong Shui respectfully. Qin Yu nodded. "There's no one from the Peng Demon Emperor on the flowing mist star right now, right?" Qin Yu asked. Dong Shui nodded and said, "That's right. For such a small planet, the Peng Demon Emperor would not dispatch experts to come here. Furthermore, even if he were to dispatch people, they would still not be able to determine the master's identity. The Peng Demon Emperor had merely dispatched people to the Five Willows Palace 100 years ago, to have them pay attention to the appearance of 3 male experts, and to report to him the moment they appear. This Peng Demon Emperor is truly smart." Qin Yu had a slight smile on his face. Qin Yu, Hou Fei and Kuro, with the strength of these 3 brothers, one would need to at least be a level 8 Demon Emperor to discover their identities. However, how many level 8 Demon Emperors were there in the entire bird clan? With the current arrangement, if they were to report to the Peng Demon Emperor, as soon as they discover 3 male experts, then they would have a very large chance of success. "Well then, Dong Shui, where do we usually live?" Qin Yu asked. Dong Shui said respectfully, "Master, the Five Willows Palace's Clear Flow Mansion is the place that this subordinate has prepared for Master. Master and the other lords can usually live there. You can also stroll around the flowing mist star as you wish. This subordinate can guarantee that no one on the flowing mist star would know of Master's identity." Amen. Qin Yu's immortal awareness spread out. Little Tong seems to have changed her attire. Qin Yu took a step forward and arrived inside the Five Willows Palace. Inside the garden of the Clear Flow Mansion, other than Dong Shui and Hei Tong, no one else was allowed to enter the Clear Flow Mansion. Currently, Hei Tong looked like a young lady. She wore a yellow gown, had bright eyes and white teeth. Her appearance was very adorable and beautiful. At this moment, Hei Tong was fiddling with a flower. From time to time, a smile would appear on her face. No one knew what she was thinking about. "Little Tong." A familiar voice sounded. Confused, Hei Tong turned around. Upon seeing who it was, she shouted in pleasant surprise, "Eldest uncle." As she shouted, she immediately threw herself into Qin Yu's bosom, with an intention from Qin Yu. Kuro, Hou Fei, Bai Ling, Yi Chu and Wu Lan immediately appeared in the courtyard. Kuro, Hou Fei and them were still a bit startled. They immediately looked to their surroundings. However, they immediately came back to their senses and displayed ecstasy on their faces. "Father, mother, eldest uncle Wu." Hei Tong's eyes were shining. "Little Tong." Bai Ling was so happy that her eyes had turned red. "Big brother." Hou Fei and Kuro also looked to Qin Yu excitedly. Chapter 419. Regardless of whether it was Qin Yu, Hou Fei, Kuro or Xiao Hei, they had all not seen each other for a long time. Everyone was extremely excited. On the same day, they set up a banquet in the Five Willows Palace's Clear Flow Mansion. Toasting each other, everyone appeared to be very excited. Their faces were filled with smiles. Qin Yu swept his gaze across the crowd. His level 9 Immortal Emperor immortal awareness clearly discovered everyone's strength. Suddenly, Qin Yu looked to Yi Chu in astonishment. "Yi Chu, you've also reached level 8 Demon Emperor?" Qin Yu did not find it strange that Fei and Xiao Hei had made great progress. With the black stick, cloud-piercing spear, and the aptitude of super divine beasts bestowed upon them by Uncle Lan, there was no need to doubt their rapid progress. This Yi Chu seemed to have been a level 7 Demon Emperor for a very long time. How did he manage to break through in 1,000 years? "What? You're allowed to progress so quickly, but I'm not allowed to?" said Yi Chu proudly. Suddenly, Yi Chu looked to Qin Yu and asked, "Qin Yu, could it be that your 9 steps dark gold body has made another breakthrough?" Qin Yu smiled and was about to speak. "You must not tell me that you've reached the 7th floor," said Yi Chu solemnly. "Oh." Qin Yu was slightly puzzled. Why didn't Yi Chu want him to tell him? "I'm afraid that I won't be able to withstand the shock," said Yi Chu with resentment. "You've only been outside the Jianglan's realm for 100 years. To reach the 7th floor from the 6th floor in 100 years. If you've truly accomplished that, then you're not human. Qingyu understood. Haha, back when I was bitterly training in the Jianglan's realm for 1,000 years, I had already stayed at the 6th floor for several hundred years. Now that I've reached the 7th floor, it's not that fast either. Qingyu said with a smile. Yichu said with a stammer. You've really reached the 7th floor? Earlier, Yichu was merely guessing for fun. He did not expect that Qingyu had really reached the 7th floor. Even if I reached the 7th level, I'm afraid I'm still a little weaker than you. You're already at the 8th level. Fei, your progress is quite fast. Qingyu looked at Hou Fei. Haha, that goes without saying. Hou Fei revealed a complacent look. Currently, Hou Fei was already a level 7 demon emperor. One must know that the further one goes, the more difficult it will be. Even with Hou Fei's talent and the assistance of the black stick, Hou Fei still spent close to 1,000 years to break through. Monkey had only reached a breakthrough 10 years ago. If Big Brother had managed to open the Jianglan's realm, after being in the outside world, for exactly 100 years, then I reckon Monkey would still be a level 6 demon emperor. Kuro deliberately undermined Monkey. Don't be jealous of me, mixed hair bird. If you want to reach level 7 demon emperor, you'll have to wait at least another several thousand years, said Hou Fei complacently. However, Qingyu was pondering in his heart. After the bitter training this time around, his brother's strength had all increased by a lot. Especially Hou Fei, a level 7 demon emperor super divine beast. He was on par with Ao Wuming. If his miraculous stick techniques were to be added on, then he would be able to compete against the level 9 immortal emperor. As for Qingyu, there was not much of a difference. At the very least, if a level 8 immortal emperor were to stand in front of Qingyu, it would be akin to throwing away his life. Qingyu, Wu Lan, who stood to the side, smiled and said, looking at the strength that you 3 brothers possess now, even if 3 level 9 immortal emperors were to attack you 3 would still be able to safely escape. Wu Xiu and them would not be of much help to you 3 anymore. Evidently, Wu Lan believed that Qingyu possessed enough strength to protect himself. It's still not enough, said Qingyu helplessly. With our current strength, we are not afraid of Emperor Yu or the Mystic Emperor. Merely that Peng Demon Emperor is too hard to deal with. Back then, I had personally witnessed his speed. His speed was at least 3 to 4 times faster than mine. If we were to truly fight, I would be at a complete disadvantage. Furthermore, the Peng Demon Emperor's attack is extremely powerful. Even with my current defense, I believe that he would be able to break through my defense with a single full-strength punch. Peng Demon Emperor, Dragon Emperor, Great Ape Emperor. These 3 people are not people that ordinary level 9 immortal emperors could compare with. Qingyu took a deep breath and said, the current Qingyu was not afraid of ordinary experts. However, enemies that possessed inherited treasures were still too powerful. Against the Dragon Emperor, I am completely no match for him. However, in the moment of danger, I am still able to block the Peng Demon Emperor and save your life, said Wu Lan with a light smile. Yichu, who stood to the side, also opened his mouth wide. He laughed and said, Qingyu, you can rest assured. With Boss Wu Lan's strength, that Dragon Emperor might not be a match for him. However, the Peng Demon Emperor would be able to block him. Even if it were me, after my 9 steps dark gold body reached the 9th stage, I would still dare to compete against the Peng Demon Emperor. Qingyu looked to Wu Lan in shock. However, he was pleasantly surprised in his heart. Back then, the Dragon Emperor had once used his martial power to suppress a mortal emperor in Aiyang, and forced him to release Ao Wuxiu. At that time, Wu Lan had already admitted that he was inferior to the Dragon Emperor. Qingyu had always thought that, since Wu Lan was inferior to the Dragon Emperor, he should also be inferior to the Peng Demon Emperor. After all, the Peng Demon Emperor and the Dragon Emperor were about the same level. However, who would have thought that Wu Lan would say such a thing today? Senior Wu Lan, isn't this Peng Demon Emperor's strength about the same level as the Dragon Emperor? Kuro, who stood to the side, asked. Qingyu, Hou Fei and them also looked to Wu Lan. This was also what they were puzzled about. Wu Lan lightly smiled and said, as the saying goes, everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. Although the Peng Demon Emperor and the Dragon Emperor are about the same level, I just happened to be able to counter this Peng Demon Emperor. Thus, I was able to block him. Of course, I was only able to block him. His speed was too fast. It was impossible for me to defeat him. Oh, Qin Yu somewhat understood. Uncle Wu, you're so amazing. Little Tong offers a toast to Uncle Wu. He Tong, who had been listening the entire time, suddenly stood up and said with a beaming smile. Wu Lan looked to He Tong. His eyes were filled with pampering. Good. A toast from Little Tong. Of course I'll have to drink it. Wu Lan, Yi Chu and even Ao Wuxi were all extremely pampering toward He Tong. After all, they had watched her grow up. After the banquet, Qin Yu, Hou Fei, Kuro and Bai Ling stayed in the Clear Flow Mansion. Wu Lan also stayed in the Clear Flow Mansion. To Wu Lan, there was no need for him to be anxious about training. As for Yi Chu, he had entered the Jianglan's realm to train. Yi Chu also wanted to rely on the Jianglan's realm to reach level 9 Demon Emperor earlier. The days on the Flowing Mist Star were very peaceful and happy for Qin Yu and them. Usually, the three brothers would spar with each other, drink to their heart's content, and tour the natural sceneries of the Flowing Mist Star. They were very carefree. As for Wu Lan, he was also leisurely strolling around the 3 cities of the Flowing Mist Star. His days were very pleasant. On this day, Qin Yu and his brothers were drinking wine in a courtyard. As for Qin Yu, he stopped drinking and looked to the sky. He seemed to be thinking about something. Big brother, what are you thinking about? Hou Fei and Kuro glanced at each other. Soon after, Hou Fei put down his wine cup and asked, Oh, Qin Yu woke up from his memories. Earlier, I was thinking we've been in the immortal devil and demon realm. Even if we were to merely calculate the time in the immortal devil and demon realm, it would still be several hundred years. I wonder if my royal father, my big brother and second brother, have ascended to the immortal devil and demon realm. Said Qin Yu with a slight sigh. With the cultivation speed of royal father in them, I reckon they haven't. However, it's hard to say what the truth is. Who knows if my royal father and them have cultivated very quickly. Qin Yu had a bitter smile on his face. Kuro, who stood to the side, comforted him. Big brother, don't think too much about it. Once you step onto the path of cultivation, you can only rely on yourself. If you can help, then help. If you can't help, then don't think too much about it. Qin Yu nodded. Hey, big brother, that second layer space of the Jianglan's realm, are you able to open it now? Hou Fei suddenly asked. Your current strength is already very strong. You should be able to open it, right? Qin Yu shook his head. Open the second layer space of the Jianglan's realm? His current strength was indeed pretty good. He had reached the 7th stage of the 9 steps dark gold body. His 9 steps force was also very powerful. However, it was still not enough to open the second layer space of the Jianglan's realm. I am still quite far away from being able to open the second layer space of the Jianglan's realm. This matter cannot be rushed. As Qin Yu said that, he suddenly turned around to look. Hou Fei and Kuro also turned around to look. They saw He Tong wearing a yellow gown smiling charmingly. Little Tong, what's the matter? Kuro appeared to be ice cold. He also gave off the feeling of a strict father. He Tong took a glance at Kuro and laughed. Father, I want to go to the Green Blue Star and stroll around. Green Blue Star? Kuro was confused. What do you want to do there? This flowing mist star doesn't seem to be small. It should be enough for you to stroll around the 3 cities of the flowing mist star. He Tong humphed. She then changed her target and looked to Qin Yu. Her large eyes looked to Qin Yu. Eldest uncle, I want to go to the Green Blue Star. Green Blue Star is the core planet of the Green Blue Galaxy where the flowing mist star is located. That place is filled with crooks and honest folk. What do you want to do there? Qin Yu asked. I just want to go there. Last year, I even went to the Green Blue Star to stroll around with my master. Not many people knew of me there. I'm not in any danger. He Tong hurriedly explained. Hearing that, Qin Yu smiled. Okay, if you want to go then go. Yay, eldest uncle treats me the best, said He Tong sweetly as she hugged Qin Yu. Big brother, said Kuro with a frown. Enough, mixed hair bird. Isn't it just going to the green-blue star? What's the big deal about it? Said Ho Fei. Qingyu said. Xiaohei, my current soul realm has already reached level 9 Immortal Emperor level. Even for the Peng Demon Emperor, his soul realm is only level 8 Demon Emperor. As long as I follow little Tong, she will not be in any danger. Qingyu was very confident. Now that his soul realm had reached a high level, only a few people in the entire Immortal, Devil and Demon realm were able to discover him. However, he was able to discover others. Okay then. Kuro nodded. He then looked to Hei Tong with a stern expression. Little Tong, you must definitely listen to your eldest uncle. Eldest uncle, you're also going, said Hei Tong with a bitter expression. What's wrong, can't I? Qingyu asked with a smile on his face. He had a feeling that little Tong seemed to have a little secret. No problem. Hei Tong tried her best to squeeze out a smile. Green-blue star. As the core planet of a galaxy, the number of experts here was clearly a lot higher than the flowing mist star. There were also a lot of Immortal and Devil realm experts here. As for Qingyu and Hei Tong, they were currently in a restaurant. On the palm of Hei Tong's hand under the table was a transmission spiritual pearl. Eldest uncle, I want to go out and stroll around the city by myself, said Hei Tong as she stared at Qingyu. By yourself? Qingyu was a bit confused. Hei Tong nodded repeatedly. She then pouted her little mouth and said coquettishly, Eldest uncle, just let me go out and stroll around. I want to see what sort of little game you're going to play. Qinyu's immortal awareness had already discovered the transmission spiritual pearl in Hei Tong's hand. Okay then. However, don't mess around and cause trouble for me. Hee of course. Hei Tong cheerfully rushed out of the restaurant and slipped away. However, Qinyu's immortal awareness had instantly covered the entire green-blue star. Unless there was an expert whose soul had reached level 9 Immortal Emperor, no one would be able to detect Qinyu's probing. Hey, Yue, have you heard about the huge commotion that occurred in our immortal realm? An immortal in the restaurant spoke. I've been staying in the demon realm the entire time. Thus, I'm not very familiar with the situation in the immortal realm. Another cyan-gowned youth nodded and said, That's right. Right now, a huge commotion has occurred in the immortal realm. Several hundred years ago, Emperor Yu and the Mystic Emperor combined their powers. Not long ago, another power emerged. The leader seemed to be called the Flame Emperor. And a few days ago, the Cyan Emperor abdicated his position and gave his leader position to his brother. The Cyan Emperor was perfectly fine. Why did he abdicate his position? That immortal asked. This youth called Yue shook his head and said, Who knows? Back then, Emperor Yu was defeated by Senior Qinyu and forced to abdicate his position. This Cyan Emperor's reputation is widespread. Why would he abdicate his position? The Cyan Emperor abdicated his position. Qinyu frowned. He raised his wine cup and drank it in one gulp. However, he was still pondering in his heart. I remember back then at the Crescent Moon Bay, the Cyan Emperor's martial technique seemed to have been successfully completed. For him to abdicate his position now, could it be that he wants to undergo the divine tribulation? Qinyu's heart shook. Also, when did the immortal realm have a flame emperor? I've never heard of him. Forget about it. Qinyu stopped thinking about it. At this moment, groups of people in the restaurant were chatting unceasingly. Some were chatting about the various big shots in the immortal, devil and demon realm. Some were also chatting about the trifling matters of the sections. Suddenly, Qinyu's eyes shined. So, that little lass Hei Tong came to the green-blue star for this. Inside another restaurant's private room, Hei Tong was currently chatting with a level 1 heavenly demon youth. This youth appeared to be very simple and honest. He always had a simple smile on his face. Big guy, you didn't wait too long, right? I came out a month late, said Hei Tong while giggling. Her pair of quick-witted eyes were looking at this simple and honest youth. The simple and honest youth repeatedly shook his head. No, I don't have anything to do anyways. Usually, I would train on a mountain outside the city. Big guy here. Hei Tong extended her hand. 10 high-quality elemental spirit stones appeared on the table. Seeing that your power is so low and that you're so poor, take these high-quality elemental spirit stones back and train properly. I have a lot of these things. The simple and honest youth repeatedly shook his head. No, I can't take them. If you don't want them, then I'm leaving. After saying that, Hei Tong displayed an angry appearance and was about to walk out. The simple and honest youth grew anxious. At this moment, he didn't know whether to stop Hei Tong or to take the 10 high-quality elemental spirit stones. At this moment, a trace of a smile was flickering through Hei Tong's eyes. This naughty little lass, so she's actually in love. In another restaurant far away, Qin Yu started to laugh. He raised his cup and slowly drank. Chapter 420. Just by looking at this young man's yuanying, I can tell that he is only a level 1 heavenly demon. However, his soul's realm has reached level 3 heavenly demon. This is truly strange. A trace of doubt emerged in Qin Yu's mind. How powerful was Qin Yu right now? Qin Yu was able to see through that young man's background with a single glance. That young man's true form ought to be an ordinary monstrous beast from the Flying Bear clan. He might not even be a divine beast. As he was thinking, Qin Yu's immortal awareness began to carefully observe what was happening between Hei Tong and that young man in the restaurant. I'll accept it, okay? The simple and honest young man hurriedly said. Only then did Hei Tong sit back down in satisfaction. That's more like it. Hei Tong seemed to be very happy. Big guy, I didn't have the time to know your name the last time I met you. Can you tell me your name? The simple and honest young man took a deep breath, gathered his courage and said, My name is Guofan. Guofan, oh Guofan. Hei Tong muttered. My name is Hei Tong. A voice suddenly sounded. The voice was very soft, so soft that even Guofan did not hear it clearly. Guofan was startled. Young lady, what did you say earlier? You didn't hear it. Hei Tong immediately stood up and began to walk toward the outside of the private room. Guofan, accompany me for a stroll. You're called Hei Tong? Hei Tong, good name. Guofan said it twice in a low voice. After that he immediately stood up. Coming. Guofan. His true form was only an ordinary monstrous beast from the Flying Bear clan. His mother had already been killed by her enemy. Only his father was still alive. Merely, his father's cultivation was inferior to his. As for Guofan, he was extremely ambitious. After he reached the heavenly demon realm, he left his hometown and came to a large planet, the Green Blue Star. He was unable to afford to live in the Green Blue Star City. Thus, he could only live in the desolate places outside. Usually, he would grit his teeth and bitterly train. His goal was to work hard, to become a person above others, so that his father would be proud of him, and so that he would no longer be at the bottom. Simple and honest. That was what the majority of the people that met him thought. However, simple and honest was only Guofan's behavior. In reality, he was very smart and understood everything. Guofan, look, the sculptures here are quite exquisite. Hei Tong excitedly stood in front of a shop on the street. She was carefully looking at the small sculpture dolls in the shop. The majority of the sculptures in this shop were in pairs. Hei Tong walked in. She immediately took a fancy to a pair. Guofan, look, isn't this fat baby the same as you? Hei Tong suddenly turned around, raised her head and said to Guofan. At this moment, Hei Tong was smiling very happily. Seeing Hei Tong, who was smiling happily with her head raised, Guofan's heart suddenly throbbed. However, a trace of inferiority emerged from the bottom of Guofan's heart. He involuntarily clenched his fists. He was fond of Hei Tong. However, ever since the first time Hei Tong casually gave him a transmission spiritual pearl, so that the two of them could contact each other, Hei Tong had already become a transmission spiritual pearl. With just this, Guofan knew that Hei Tong's identity was definitely not something that he could compare with. Guofan had once decided to leave, but there was still a trace of hope in his heart. This is me, and this is you. Hei Tong chose another female doll. Happily she smiled. Guofan, these two dolls, how about we buy them? Boss, I'll buy these two carvings. Guofan turned around and said to the boss. 3 pieces of low-quality elemental spirit stones, said that old man indifferently. 3 pieces of low-quality elemental spirit stones sounded very cheap. However, in reality it was merely 2 carvings. Had it been during normal times, Guofan would not be willing to spend 3 pieces of low-quality elemental spirit stones to purchase 2 useless carvings. Here are 3 pieces of low-quality elemental spirit stones. Guofan straightforwardly paid the bill without the slightest hesitation. Guofan turned around and looked to He Tong. Suddenly, a slight redness appeared on his face. Tong, can I call you Tong Tong? Ah. He Tong opened her eyes wide and looked to Guofan. Only after a short moment did she react. Tong Tong, if you want to call me that, then go ahead. Your mouth is on your face. I am unable to control it. He Tong mumbled a few random words. Then with a red face, she took the 2 sculptures and walked out. Yay! Guofan clenched his hands. An uncontrollable excitement emerged from the bottom of his heart. He's truly simple and honest. However, he's a bit better than me back then. Qingyu had been watching this scene from beginning to end. At the very least, this Guofan still dares to take a step forward. Back then, I was together with Li Er for so long, yet I did not say a single word. Merely by looking at Guofan's performance earlier, Qingyu had grown fond of this simple and honest youth. If this Guofan were to become He Tong's companion, then at the very least, Qingyu believed that he would definitely support it. At this moment, Guofan still didn't know that there was a super expert paying attention to him. He was still excited and excited. Even his face was slightly hot. As for the current He Tong, she was even more unbearable. Her face was as red as an apple. Guofan and He Tong were walking side by side on the street. Momentarily, neither of them knew what to say. Guofan, say something. He Tong suddenly spoke. I don't know what to say. At this moment, Guofan still felt that he was floating. He Tong suddenly said. Guofan, which road are we walking on right now? How many turns have we taken? Guofan looked to his surroundings. Guofan suddenly discovered that he seemed to be lost. Earlier, Guofan, who was in a state of excitement, was floating. His mind was filled with all sorts of thoughts. He was simply not looking at the road at all. Even when he was walking, he was randomly walking. Oh, that's right, I remember now. Guofan suddenly saw an enormous building with over 100 floors. Seeing this landmark building, Guofan began to recall the road. After all, he had stayed in the Green Blue Star for a period of time. I'm not too sure about the name of this road. However, I know the direction and so on. He Tong seemed to have recovered her liveliness from before. Guofan, can you tell me about your parents? My father, he's a servant in a restaurant on an ordinary planet in the Green Blue Galaxy. My father's greatest wish is for me to reach the Demon King level. With that, I would be one of the most powerful people on that planet of mine. Guofan's gaze was misty. He shook his head and said, however, I do not wish to confine myself to a small planet. Thus I came to the Green Blue Star. I have been working hard to train the entire time, working very hard. I believe that there will be a day when I will be able to accomplish something. Guofan clenched his right fist tightly. He Tong raised her head and looked to Guofan. Suddenly, she felt that the current Guofan was a bit different from his usual simple and honest appearance. However, the current Guofan was even more attractive to her. Guofan, do you have a goal? He Tong suddenly asked. Goal? I do not have a clear goal. I merely want no one to be able to oppress me or my loved ones. I only want to live comfortably and happily with my loved ones. However, I know that in a world like the immortal devil and demon realm, one must possess sufficient strength. Thus, I must work hard, said Guofan firmly. Foolish boy. Qingyu lightly smiled. He then raised his head and drank a cup of wine. Live comfortably and happily without anyone threatening or oppressing you. Even if you reach the emperor level, there would still be threats. This sort of goal might not seem too far away, but in reality, it's still not enough for you to reach the emperor level. Seeing Guofan, Qingyu recalled himself when he was in the mortal realm. Back then, wasn't he also trying to let his loved ones live comfortably and not be threatened? As he continued to advance, his current strength was already close to that of an ordinary level 9 immortal emperor. However, he still needed to work hard. Foolish boy, I hope that you'll be able to live more comfortably than me. Everyone has their own path. Guofan also has his own path. Guofan and Haitong chatted idly. They chatted about their past, about their friends and loved ones. Gradually, half a day had passed. Guofan, I'm afraid that I can only stay in the Green Blue Star for a couple days. If it wasn't for my eldest uncle, I reckon that I wouldn't even have the opportunity to reach the Green Blue Star. Haitong pouted her little mouth and said in a slightly helpless manner. Guofan said confusedly, could it be that your parents don't even allow you to go to the Green Blue Star? My parents have an enemy. That enemy's strength is very strong. My parents are still a bit lacking, said Haitong helplessly. However, I know that my eldest uncle and them are very strong right now. Soon we will not need to fear that enemy. I believe that your eldest uncle and them will succeed. Guofan nodded. Young lady, you're also from our Eagle clan? Suddenly, a voice sounded from not far away. Guofan and Haitong simultaneously raised their heads to look. They saw a black-clothed youth walking over with two middle-aged men with a smile on his face. That black-clothed youth carefully looked at Haitong. Eagle clan. Furthermore, she's a divine beast of the Eagle clan. Uncle, she meets the requirements, right? Those two middle-aged men both looked to Haitong with a gaze, as if they were inspecting goods. Soon after, one of the middle-aged men nodded and said, this woman meets the requirements. After all this time, I finally met someone that I like, said the black-clothed youth excitedly. What are you all doing? Haitong glared at them and said angrily. Guofan, who stood to the side, also felt that the situation was bad. Merely, Guofan continued to stand beside Haitong. No matter what, he would not dodge. The black-clothed youth said with a beaming smile. Young lady, I am Lu Chu from the Eagle clan. My true form is a high-level divine beast, Cyan Fire Eagle. According to the rules of the Eagle clan, as a high-level divine beast, my partner must be from the Eagle clan. At the same time, she must be a divine beast. Because of that, our descendant will have a greater chance to be a Cyan Fire Eagle. In your dreams, Haitong was enraged. Like an angry little lion, she said. You scoundrel brat. You actually dare to treat this young lady like this. I will definitely make you regret it. Little girl. A middle-aged man behind the black-clothed youth said indifferently. Young Master Lu Chu is the next clan chief of our Eagle clan. As a clansman of the Eagle clan, you have the responsibility to sacrifice yourself for our clan. Young Master Lu Chu has chosen you. You must accept it. This is your honor. If you were to resist, then the consequences would not be something that you can bear. Haitong cursed angrily. Bullshit. You're truly shrewish. Your angry appearance is truly adorable. The black-clothed youth appeared to be very happy. Haitong's angry appearance was indeed adorable. Qin Yu, Ho Fei and the others had also said that Haitong would usually feel happy about this. However, at this moment Haitong was angry. Tong Tong, you leave first. Guofan suddenly stood in front of Tong Tong. His gaze was as calm as water. Tong Tong is already my partner. If you all wish to snatch her, then you must pass through me. At this moment, Guofan did not care about life and death. At this moment, Guofan believed that he must stand out. Pass through you? Boy. The black-clothed youth seemed to have heard some sort of joke. Are you muddle-headed? You're only a level 1 heavenly demon. This young lady is stronger than you. Do you know what my cultivation is? Level 1 Demon Emperor. Do you know the strength of my two uncles? They're both much stronger than me. Guofan's heart trembled. 3 Emperor-level experts. In the past, Emperor-level experts were unattainable in his heart. However, at this moment, Guofan, who had the determination to die, did not back down in the slightest. Haitong was not worried. She merely looked at the current Guofan. She carefully looked at Guofan's expression. It was as if she wanted to forever remember this expression in her heart. Big brother Guofan, you're simply unable to stop them. Why are you still trying to stop them? If I were to live today, I would regret it my entire life. Guofan slightly raised his head. He stared at the 3 Emperor-level experts before him. They are able to kill me. However, they are unable to make my heart yield to them. I will look down on them from the bottom of my heart. Even if I were to die, An indescribable radiance flashed through Guofan's eyes. At this moment, the scene of his father entrusting him with his task appeared in Guofan's mind. The expectations his father had for him. However, today, Guofan clenched his teeth. The gaze in his eyes grew even more resolute. "Good boy, you've got guts." The black-clothed youth smiled. "If you want to look down on me, then so be it. I'll kill you right now and snatch away the girl you like. What can you do about it?" The black-clothed youth had a faint disdain in his eyes. "Eldest uncle, if you continue to watch the show like this and don't come out, I will no longer bother with you in the future," Haitong suddenly said loudly. Qin Yu, who was watching the show in the restaurant, was startled. "Oh!" A grave and stern man suddenly appeared before Haitong and Guofan. Merely at this moment, this man had a slightly embarrassed expression on his face. "Eldest uncle, you're finally willing to come out." Haitong pouted her mouth. "These three people are too repulsive." Qin Yu looked to Guofan. "You're called Guofan?" "Amen, not bad lad." Guofan felt a burst of warmth from Qin Yu's amiable gaze. At this moment, he seemed to not be afraid of those three emperor-level experts in the slightest. "Who are you? Do you wish to meddle in the matters of our Eagle clan?" the black-clothed youth shouted. However, he was emitting the aura of a superior. "Eagle clan? I don't even care about your clan chief, Lu Tuesday. Why would I care about you three kids?" Qin Yu said with a light smile. Guofan suddenly saw a scene that stunned him. Three afterimages suddenly appeared before those three people. Soon after, the three afterimages disappeared. Qin Yu returned to his original location. It was as if he had never moved. Bang! 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 Those three people fell to the ground with a loud bang. I hate forcing people the most. Especially forcing my loved ones. With a wave of his sleeve, Qin Yu turned those three corpses into ashes and disappeared. After reaching the 7th stage of the 9 steps dark gold body, one's entire body was comparable to a low-quality divine artifact. Qin Yu's entire body, regardless of whether it was his fists, legs, or fingers, they were all divine artifacts. Furthermore, they were divine artifacts that could instantly restore themselves. With his strength, how could 3 demon emperors, with the strongest being a level 5 demon emperor, possibly survive? "Little Tong, that brat is dead. It's a bit troublesome for us to stay here. Let's go back," Qin Yu said with a smile. "Go back? Can't we wait a couple more days?" Haitong suddenly turned around and looked to Guofan. Her eyes were filled with reluctance. Guofan also had reluctance in his heart. "We can't continue to stay here." Qin Yu was not afraid of the level 8 demon emperor Lu Tuesday. However, he disliked troubles. Hearing Qin Yu saying that they couldn't stay here so firmly, a trace of disappointment and reluctance flashed through Haitong and Guofan's eyes. Qin Yu suddenly pointed to Guofan. "However, this brat can come with us. If he stays here, once the Eagle clan investigates, he will definitely die." "Yay, I knew that eldest uncle is the best." Haitong excitedly hugged Qin Yu. Qin Yu smiled. "Didn't you just say that you're going to ignore me in the future?" "Eldest uncle." Haitong's face turned red. However, she still sneaked a glance at Guofan. Guofan also had a joyous expression on his face. Merely, he also sneaked a glance at Qin Yu. The 3 emperor-level experts that were unreachable in his eyes earlier had actually died in a blink of an eye. "I wonder when I will be as powerful as eldest Uncle Tong Tong." Guofan couldn't help but clench his fist. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.